My House of Horrors Chapter 961 to 980. The layout of the lab building was not that complicated. There was only a straight corridor, and there were various labs on both sides. At the end of the corridor was a cargo elevator. The couple had no idea why there was a cargo elevator in the lab building, but they did not think too much about it. The visitors behind them chased after them like crazy. There was no way out at the end of the corridor, so the only way to escape was to take the cargo elevator. "Stop right there," Big Ghost and Small Ghost screamed, and the couple was even more afraid. They had not provoked the man, and they had only exchanged a few words, but the man threatened to swallow them whole. The corridor was a straight line, and there was nothing to block their sight. They would be discovered even if they hid in the labs on the side. The couple rushed to the end of the corridor and pressed the elevator button desperately. "Open the door." In his panic, the male student completely ignored the sign next to the elevator. "Cargo, visitors are not allowed to use it." He pressed the button repeatedly, and the silver elevator door slowly opened. "We'll go to another floor to hide. These visitors are not normal." There were 4 buttons on the elevator, and they corresponded to basement 1 to 4. The first 3 numbers were normal, and the number that represented basement 4 was dyed red with blood. The male student helped his girlfriend into the elevator, and he pressed a random button. The elevator door slowly closed, and the footsteps in the corridor got closer. "I've heard that the boss is crazy and often has his employees pretend to be visitors, but we're so unlucky to run into him on our first visit." The female student was very observant, and her face was pale from fear. "Shush! Do not say bad things about the boss inside the haunted house. I remember someone from the medical school once warned me that the boss is a vengeful person." The footsteps approached quickly, and the couple hugged each other. They stared at the elevator door, and their hearts were sweating. "Close it. Why is it so slow, Pa?" The footsteps stopped, and a small man squeezed into the elevator at the last minute. "Still trying to run?" Small Ghost's expression was fierce. After he entered the elevator, the door closed, and the elevator started to move down. He did not feel afraid when he chased them, but when he entered the elevator, Small Ghost realized that he had to face 2 actors alone. "Humph, you sure run fast." Small Ghost's aura weakened, but he soon realized that the 2 students were more afraid than he was. They huddled together, and their eyes were filled with confusion and fear. "They're still acting. Are they trying to gain my sympathy?" No one spoke in the elevator, and it slowly became quiet. A faint stench could be smelled in the enclosed space. It was hard to tell what kind of smell it was. It was like someone had poured a lot of perfume on rotten meat. He wanted to cover up the original stench, but the stench was too strong. It mixed with the perfume and created a new stench. With a soft ding, the elevator stopped, and everyone looked at the display screen of the elevator. In his panic, the male student pressed the button that led to the 3rd basement floor. On the control panel, the number 3 was still lit up, but the display screen showed that they were on the 2nd basement floor. Why did the elevator stop on this floor? Someone wants to take the elevator. Apart from this possibility, Imp could not think of any other reason. He was on high alert, staring at the slowly opening elevator door. A faint stench wafted into the tip of his nose. Outside the elevator was a long, pitch-black corridor, and there was no one there. "Is this your doing?" Little Gui glared at the student couple. It was 1 against 2, so he did not have the advantage in numbers. Hence, his tone was not as arrogant. "How could this be our doing?" The male student was both afraid and wronged. "I'll be direct with you. Brother Bai has found the key evidence. You 2 are the haunted house's actors." Little Gui's expression was fierce, but he kept his distance from the male student. He was afraid that the male student would be angered after being exposed and do something irrational. "We're the haunted house's actors. Please don't accuse us first, okay?" The couple was really panicking. "When the male assistant disappeared, he was with you. He also used your phone to send messages to Lu Gang, right?" Little Gui slowly calmed down. "Male assistant? The one who stole our phones and blocked us outside the door?" Speaking of the male assistant, the couple was angered. "I haven't even done anything to you yet. We were kind enough to lend him our phones, but he blocked us outside the door and used us to attract the ghosts." "He stole your phones? The 3 of you are not together anymore." Little Gui had no idea who was lying, but he felt like something was wrong. When the three argued, the elevator door closed on its own, and it started to descend. Several seconds later, the elevator finally reached the third floor, and the silver door slowly opened. Don't wander off. Little Gui took out his phone. First, I'm definitely not an actor. You can search online. I'm here with Lu Gang to fight the fraud. What are you trying to say? The couple still did not believe Little Gui. We're not the haunted house's actors, and neither are you. So who is the haunted house's actor? Even though Little Gui was impulsive, he was not dumb. Come with me. We'll talk. There seems to be a misunderstanding between us. Just as the couple was struggling, the fourth button on the control panel suddenly lit up on its own. The silver door slowly closed, and the blood-red number 4 reflected in everyone's eyes. Why is the elevator moving on its own? You pressed the button to go to the fourth floor. No, I've been talking to you. Is there someone else in the elevator? The old elevator was filled with dirt, and as the elevator moved down, blood leaked out from the dirt. The stench thickened, and the three visitors started to feel uneasy. No, this is not right. It only took several seconds to go from the second floor to the third floor. It's been so long already, so why is the elevator still moving down? Blood leaked out from the dirt, and blood vessels crawled all over the elevator. The strange stench thickened. Ding! Just as the three visitors were about to collapse, the number on the display finally turned to 4. The elevator door slowly opened, and there was a reinforced iron door. Through the gap, they saw something that they would never forget. Outside the locked iron door was a long corridor that had been painted blood red. Viscous blood was still dripping down. What is this place? It was terrifying to the point of shock. Their voices trembled, and they couldn't even utter a complete sentence. The three visitors squeezed at the innermost part of the elevator, not daring to move. What do we do? What do we do? Little Gui's teeth were chattering. The stench inside the elevator thickened, and to make matters worse, there was a rhythmic sound coming from the corridor outside. It sounded like a child was bouncing a basketball and slowly approaching. We have to leave. We can't let that thing enter the elevator. This was a matter of life and death. Little Gui gritted his teeth and crawled up from the ground. He pressed the 1 button on the control panel. He wanted to close the elevator door, but the elevator did not respond. Lifting his head to look at the display, Little Gui felt a chill rush into his brain. The words "overloaded" were written in red on the elevator's display. There were only 3 people in the elevator, so why would it be overloaded? Cold sweat slid down his forehead. Little Gui scanned the elevator, and he realized that the blood vessels under the dirt had intertwined to form many human faces. Up, down, left, and right, the whole elevator was covered with human faces. At the same time, the iron door shook violently like there were many things beating on the door, trying to enter the elevator through it. The blood vessels slid down, and the faces slowly poked out from the dirt. Many scary shadows appeared, and the elevator was filled with people. The screams came from underground. Even though every floor of the haunted house was soundproof, Big Ghost and Lao Joe could hear them clearly. Small Ghost. Big Ghost pressed the button madly, but the elevator stopped at the 4th floor. It was not until the screams stopped that the elevator started to move upward. I also heard the screams from the 2 students. It doesn't sound like they're faking it. Lao Joe's voice was laced with worry and fear. Have we misunderstood them? That's enough. The 2 probably purposely led us here. Big Ghost was feeling bad. Sister Ghost had disappeared, and something had happened to Small Ghost. He was the only one left from the trio. When the elevator comes up, if the 3 of them aren't in the elevator, we'll go down together. The terrain here isn't that complicated. They won't be able to get far with Small Ghost. I think it's better not to bother with the kid. Did you guys notice something just now? Bai Buhui pointed at the monitor outside the elevator. When the elevator went down, it stopped at every floor. The 2 students are very cunning. They're obviously tricking us into exploring every floor. The elevator went up one floor after another. When Bai Buhui was trying to reason with them, the silver elevator door slowly opened, but the 3 visitors inside had disappeared. Don't go over. The elevator is sealed. It's a taboo when visiting a haunted house.
Bai Buhui reminded again, but Big Ghost stubbornly walked into the elevator. If you're willing to come with me, then come with me. If there's no one, I'll go down myself.
Hearing that, Bai Buhui shook his head and stood where he was. Ol, Zhou and Duan Yu, on the other hand, were moved. They knew very well that a 4-star scenario would tear away the visitors' normal disguise and allow them to fully release the darkness and depression in their hearts. Therefore, regardless of Big Ghost's character, at least he really cared about Little Ghost.
Sai, we'll go with you. It'll be safer with more people. Lao Zhou hesitated for a long time before coming to a decision. He and Duan Yu also entered the elevator.
Thank you. Big Ghost nodded at Lao Zhou and gave him a thankful look.
The three of you are crazy. Bai Buhui pushed up his glasses, his expression cold. I'll wait for you here. Good luck.
The elevator doors slowly closed, and Big Ghost looked at the number on the screen with a serious expression. Don't worry, we're just visiting a haunted house. Small Ghost and Sister Ghost will be fine. Lao Zhou was kind, and he wanted to console Big Ghost. You won't understand even if I explain it to you. Big Ghost turned back to look at Lao Zhou and Duan Yu, and his gaze was scary. He pointed at his ears. I'll tell you a ghost story. If you don't believe me, just pretend it's a story. When I was 9, I was in a car accident. When I was unconscious, there was a voice lingering in my ears. It sounded like it was apologizing. Initially, I didn't take it to heart, but after I was rescued, the perpetrator's family wanted my forgiveness. Their family is very poor. The driver died in the car accident, and the pillar of support in the family has collapsed. The mother and daughter's basic livelihood has become a problem. I forgave them. Later, when the police released the recording of the driver's phone call, I was shocked to realize that his voice was the same as the one I heard when I was unconscious. From then on, I can occasionally hear voices that other people can't. It's very blurry, but it's definitely there. It's because I have this power that I dare to bring Small Ghost and Sister Ghost to challenge places like the crematorium and the graveyard because I know those places are mostly safe. The elevator soon reached the 2nd floor. Big Ghost looked down the dark corridor, and his expression became more serious. What you're saying scares me. What does your story have to do with the haunted house that we're visiting? Lao Zhou was confused. Ever since I entered this scenario, there have been many voices in my ears. I don't know whether I've gone mad or there are many dirty things hiding here. Big Ghost looked down the dark corridor. He took a deep breath and took out his phone to look at the time. I have a bad feeling. He was kind enough to save you. How can you say that he's a dirty thing? Lao Zhou moved his body to look at Big Ghost's phone. What time is it now?
It's 9:44. Why are you suddenly asking that? Big Ghost was still looking out the elevator.
Whether you believe it or not, actually, something scary once happened to me. What is it? Big Ghost turned back to look, and he realized that Lao Zhou's expression was unprecedentedly serious. One night, I was taking the elevator alone, and I saw a couple with their heads lowered. Lao Zhou's face paled. I was very afraid. I stood alone at the elevator door, and when the door closed, the man suddenly asked me, "What time is it now?" How did you answer him? Big Ghost turned to look at Lao Zhou. He suddenly felt like this conversation was quite familiar. I told him it was 9:44. Lao Zhou's head slowly lowered.
Then, what happened? The air in the elevator seemed to freeze. Lao Zhou's face slowly rose, and a ghastly scar appeared on his pale face. Then, this time became the time of my death. The silver elevator door slowly closed, and Duan Yu was at the door.
Dang it. When the elevator door opened again, Big Ghost had already fainted.
Lao Zhou dragged him out from the elevator and had Duan Yu send a message to Chen Ge, telling Chen Ge that Big Ghost could hear ghost language.
Moments later, Chen Ge called. Ignore the people behind us. Send Big Ghost to the school's nurse's office as soon as possible. Elder Wei and the other doctors are there. Let them handle this. Time is tight. Can Dr. Wei cure him? Dr. Wei has treated many patients who have forgotten their painful past. Do you still not trust him?
Okay. Bai Buhui guarded the elevator door. Soon, he heard Lao Zhou and Duan Yu's screams. They were shrill and scary. He could not imagine what had happened to them. Looks like they've been tricked by the haunted house's workers. This is really a man-eating elevator. I can't stay here anymore. I'm the only one left. They'll come back for me. Bai Buhui was very calm. Based on Mr. Bai's report from the Supernatural Phenomenon Research Society, heaven and the wishing well are in the same room, so there has to be a connection between the two. The wishing well is probably the real way out.
The map that he had seen at the entrance of the education block appeared in his mind. Bai Buhui took out his phone to call Lu Gang, but the call did not go through. What is this idiot doing? He sent a message to Lu Gang, telling him that the library was a trap, and the real exit was at the well. After doing all that, Bai Buhui ignored everything else and ran as fast as he could toward the western side of the school. In his memory, the well was there. Bai Buhui was a strong-willed person. The tragedy of his childhood made him cold and selfish. Many friends who had worked with him said that he lacked humanity. But a person like that, when he saw the field at the edge of the school of the afterlife, his eyes started to mist. In just 10 minutes, Bai Buhui had experienced the baptism of at least 10 ghost stories. The school hospital filled with whispers and crying, the music room that was empty but kept making noise, the staircase that would add a step as he walked, the statue that blinked and cried, the canteen that smelled like meat, the human faces that hid under the toilet cubicles, and the footsteps that chased after him. There were so many that he could not count them all. Other haunted houses had set up scare points, but at this haunted house, each ghost story contained several scare points. The scariest thing was that once one of the ghost stories was triggered, the ghosts in the ghost story would continue to chase after you like they would not stop until you were dead. Bai Buhui had no idea how many things were chasing after him. His brain had stopped working, and he was relying solely on his willpower. The wishing well. As the designer of the futuristic theme park, he did not want to admit defeat. He would rather find the exit himself than accept the humiliation of being sent out by someone else. I'm almost there. Using all the energy he had, Bai Buhui rushed across the field. The classic scene from the Shawshank Redemption appeared in his mind. Freedom is before me. At that moment, I am my own hero. He had never run so fast before. He ran across the field and crawled next to the well. This was an old well that was slanted. There was a safety rope tied to the side of the well, and there was a bucket tied to the end of the rope. Bai Buhui looked into the well, and he could see a faint red glow at the bottom. It should be here. With his palms pressed together, Bai Buhui sincerely made a wish. I wish to leave this haunted house. Then he tossed a coin into the well. Soon, there was a sound. The well was not as deep as he thought. Screw it. Life or death depended on this gamble. Bai Buhui grabbed the safety rope and slowly entered the well. Why isn't Bai Buhui answering his phone? What is the kid trying to do? Lu Gang's voice came from under the table. Could they have escaped already? From the first time I met him, I felt that he wasn't very reliable. He spoke in a weird way and ignored everyone. The cameraman Meng Nan's voice came from under another table. I purposely came here to help the futuristic theme park. If this B** dares to abandon me and escape on his own, I will teach him a lesson in the future. Lu Gang was very angry. But you're not any better. You contacted my assistant without telling me, and as the cameraman, you even threw the camera away. I was forced to do that. Creak. The wooden door was pushed open. Hearing the sound, Lu Gang and Meng Nan shut their mouths at the same time. Brother Gang, come out. The headless woman hasn't chased after us. Ali ran into the room. We should hurry to the library. I can't get through to everyone's phones. I really don't know what they are doing. Lu Gang took out his phone and sent a group message. The exit is behind the mirror on the second floor of the library. Those who receive this message, come over immediately. I've done my best. If they don't want to come, then it has nothing to do with me. Lu Gang patted the dust off his clothes and crawled out from under the table. Let's not wait for them. We'll go over first. The three squeezed together, and as they pushed the door open, Meng Nan yelped. What's wrong? The mannequin is following us again. Meng Nan pointed outside the door. There was a mannequin standing at the corner of the corridor. His head was perched on his shoulders, and his black eyes stared at Lu Gang's group. I feel like he's looking at me. His eyes seem to be following us. Lan Dong has disappeared, so why is this ghost baby still following us? Meng Nan sucked in a cold breath. Ignore him. Let's go to the library first. Ali was not that afraid of the ghost baby. No matter how scary the ghost baby was, at least everyone could see him. In his sight, a thin male student would appear out of nowhere, and he seemed to be the only one who could see this ghost. Following the ghost baby's appearance were the barking of dogs and the sound of crying. The actors at the haunted house did not seem to have a set location, and they could move freely. This was what worried Lu Gang the most. After all, the number of visitors was decreasing, and the number of actors around each visitor would increase. My head hurts. Many unfamiliar images appeared in Ali's memory like he had lived here before. When he slowly got used to this feeling, Lu Gang and Meng Nan felt like Ali was becoming more and more unfamiliar. However, none of them pointed that out. They felt like as long as they could escape, all the problems would be solved. They ran down the corridor, and the shadows that flashed around the corner made them shiver. The scariest thing was that occasionally, there would be strands of black hair that fell from above their heads, but when they lifted their heads to look, they could not see anything. The three were in a hurry to escape, so they did not care about these details. They placed all their hope on the hidden path that the male assistant had mentioned. "We're here. The library is up ahead." From far away, Meng Nan saw the sign on the wall, and the three of them ran as fast as they could. "Close the door. Close the door." To buy time for themselves, Lu Gang and Meng Nan closed the wooden door of the library and used the chairs to block the door. "We'll go to the second floor together. My assistant and the two students should be hiding here." Lu Gang called his assistant's name several times, but there was no answer. They hurried to the stairs inside the library and realized that the stairs led downward. "The second floor that my assistant mentioned, is it the second underground floor?" Looking at the dark staircase, Lu Gang hesitated, but at that moment, a banging sound came from the library door like someone was using their head to knock on the door. "The thing from the haunted house is here. Is it the ghost baby? Or the headless woman?" The few panicked. They could clearly see blood seeping out from the gap of the door. The banging sound grew louder, and the wooden chairs that blocked the door started to shake. "Quick! We can't stay here." After Meng Nan said that, he was the first to rush into the second underground floor. The eerie underground was lined with rows of bookshelves, but there was no mirror. "Brother Gang, have we been tricked? Why would there be a mirror in the library? What's the point of saying that now? Let's go find it." Lu Gang was also panicking. The mirror was their only hope. The three of them ran down the second underground floor, and the shaking above them grew louder. Has the haunted house lost its mind? To recreate the scenario, they really built such a large underground library? Meng Nan grabbed a random book from the bookshelf. The cover of the book was stained with blood, and the inside was soaked in blood. He could not open it no matter how hard he tried. This is crazy. He was about to put the book back when he saw something in the gap behind the book. Meng Nan bent down to look, and a blood-red eye flashed behind the bookshelf. F***ck. His body lost balance and fell backward. Just as his head was about to knock into the bookshelf behind him, something caught him. Meng Nan subconsciously turned around to look. Behind him, there was a grayish-white arm extending out from the gap of the bookshelf, 5 pale white fingers pressing on his neck. The chill seeped into his bones, and Meng Nan felt like his spine was creaking like it was going to crack. "Ah!" Meng Nan screamed and crawled on the ground. The commotion was loud, and he seemed to have accidentally broken some kind of taboo. Perhaps it was because the library forbade loud noises. Many gray arms reached out from the bookshelf, and some of them were wearing Mu Yang High School's uniform. "What's going on?" Lu Gang dropped his image and crawled to the ground, trying to find a place to hide. Bang! Another loud crash came from the first underground floor. It was probably the door of the library being knocked open. Several seconds later, a face appeared on the stairs. Ghost Child appeared in the stairwell, and behind him was a large black dog. "Run!" Meng Nan screamed, but the library was only so big, and there was nowhere to run. The few of them hid in the last row of the library. Perhaps it was true that there was always a way out. They actually found a mirror that was placed against the wall. This is it. They had been saved. The joy was indescribable. It was as if in the deepest despair, they had found the most beautiful accident. "Quick!" Ali pushed the mirror open, and behind it was a path that led downward. At the end of the path was a heavily damaged iron door.
A secret passage. Tears of excitement appeared in the three's eyes. Only those who had experienced it would understand this feeling. Running down the stairs, they were getting closer and closer to the door of hope. The crying and barking faded away, and Lu Gang, who ran at the front, finally reached the door handle.
"It's over." Pushing the iron door open, the stench of blood rushed into his nostrils. A viscous fog covered his whole body. When Lu Gang opened his eyes, he saw a world that was completely red.
Sticky blood dripped from the roof, and the whole corridor was painted red.
The air was damp, and every breath felt like his lungs were soaked in blood. Lu Gang stopped moving. The strong clash of colors caused him to doubt himself. When he wanted to turn around, a large force slammed into his back. His legs weakened, and Lu Gang collapsed to the ground. He turned to look behind him. Meng Nan and Ali rushed out from the corridor. They did not expect Lu Gang to suddenly stop. They did not have the time to slow down, so they knocked into Lu Gang. The three rolled into a ball as they watched the ghost child and the black dog enter the hidden corridor. The scary faces slowly approached, and the pale arms followed behind them. When they reached Lu Gang, something that no one expected happened.
The scary ghosts did not move forward. They stopped in the middle of the corridor, and with fear and anxiety, they slammed the broken door shut.
The chains moved, and the rusty iron door seemed to be locked. We're saved." The three visitors lay on the ground with complicated expressions. They only dared to look at each other's faces, and they did not dare move their eyes.
"The exit?" Ali asked softly, but there was no answer to that question. "Perhaps it's the exit. Even though it doesn't look like it, perhaps the haunted house wants to leave us with an Easter egg before we leave." Meng Nan's voice was bitter. He slowly climbed up from the ground, and his heart was racing.
"You do have a point." Lu Gang also climbed up. His body was shaking. Everything around him was too shocking for him. This was a blood world. The ground was covered in blood, the walls were covered in blood vessels, and the ceiling above them was dripping with sticky blood. This is crazy, this is crazy." Lu Gang stuttered. He had thought that there was hope behind the door, but what he saw had nothing to do with the word hope. This kind of psychological shock was enough to break one's mind. The three visitors came up with countless reasons to comfort themselves, but all of them were pale and powerless in the face of this bloody reality. Before Lu Gang finished, the sound of footsteps came from the corridor. The sound was crisp like high heels stepping on ceramic tiles. It's hard to move around in high heels. Could it be that the staff have come to pick us up? Who cares what it is? Let's hide first. Ali pushed open the door of a nearby classroom. Before he entered, he sucked in a cold breath. The classroom was filled with students, and all the students were wearing the strange school uniform. The uniform made Ali feel uncomfortable, but it was familiar. The boy that I saw in my days was wearing this uniform. His name is Lin Sisi, right? Ali had been holding the wooden box in his arms the whole time. Because he was too nervous, he forgot to put down the wooden box containing the oil painting. The footsteps were getting closer. The only place to hide in the corridor was the classrooms on both sides. But no matter which door he opened, it was filled with students. "Let's go in first. These students seem to be dummies." As if to answer Lu Gang when he said that, the heads of all the students in the classroom slowly turned, and the pairs of eyes turned to look at him. In less than a second, the students in the classroom started to stand up. They did not seem to be used to their new bodies. They left their seats stiffly and charged at Lu Gang. "Run! Run! Get out!" Their bodies moved reflexively. Lu Gang and the rest pushed each other out of the classroom, and by then, the strange footsteps had reached them. A pair of blood-red high heels was placed in the middle of the corridor, and they almost melted into the blood-red corridor. Why did the shoes come on their own? Blood dripped from the top of his head. Lu Gang lifted his head to look and saw a woman covered in bandages. Her upper body was stuck to the ceiling like she was made from blood. A scream escaped from Lu Gang's lips. He did not even know he could make such a shrill sound. His body was dragged. Ali and Muscle Man dragged Lu Gang, and the three of them ran down the corridor. At that moment, a familiar scream came from the other end of the corridor. "Bai Buhui!" What was left of his rationality allowed Ali to remember this name. He looked down the corridor, and at a fork, there were two haggard figures. One of them was the unreasonable and slightly misophobic Bai Buhui. He had lost one of his shoes, his shirt was open, and his glasses were gone. Buhui! Even from afar, Lu Gang shouted. Even though he had been complaining about Bai Buhui earlier, at that moment, when he saw Bai Buhui, he felt a sense of kinship.
Don't come any closer, Bai Buhui shouted. He was barefooted, but he was still running fast.
Moments later, Lu Gang saw the other person with Bai Buhui. The man was also a visitor. He had seen him when he first entered the haunted house. He was wearing very thick clothes, and he seemed to be suffering from some illness. His face was pale, and he kept gasping for air. Don't come any closer. Run. Bai Buhui gestured desperately. When they met at the fork, they saw what was following behind them. Behind Lu Gang was a pair of high heels that could move on their own, a strange woman stuck to the roof, and a large group of students with the same expression on their faces. Behind Bai Buhui and the visitor was a deformed boy with a normal head but a stomach 10 times the size of an adult's. The boy was holding a mannequin's broken leg, and he was covered in blood, giving off a horrible stench.
There was no escape. One side was scary, and the other was even scarier.
Get inside the house. Lu Gang screamed. No, you'll die if you enter the house. Bai Buhui stopped moving. He looked left and right before gritting his teeth and saying, run toward me.
Lu Gang was followed by a group of people, but there was only one behind him. After weighing the pros and cons, Bai Buhui made the best choice. Let's charge together. All the negative emotions in his heart were released. When the deformed boy chased after him, Bai Buhui suddenly rammed into the visitor wearing the thick clothes.
He personally pushed the strange visitor toward the monster.
When the visitor was about to fall, his arm was grabbed by the monster.
Now, run. The monster held the mannequin's leg in one hand and the strange visitor in the other. He was unable to move.
With Bai Buhui's reminder, the group ran past the boy, and at that moment, they heard a heart-wrenching scream.
When they turned back, they saw a bloody hand torn off by the deformed boy. The hand drew a trajectory in the air and landed in front of them.
Blood was still flowing, and the fingertips of the broken hand were still shaking. Ali and Muscle Man collapsed to the ground. They did not expect something like this to happen. The scream continued. The body of the deformed boy blocked Lu Gang and Bai Buhui's vision. They could only see the fresh blood flowing out from the strange visitor's body.
That was a human life, and the visitor had been standing with them just a second ago.
All of this was real. All their fears became reality at that moment. It was like waking up from a nightmare to find the murderer standing next to the bed with a sharp knife. Ali and Muscle Man broke down, and they screamed uncontrollably. Bai Buhui collapsed to the ground as well. He looked at the blood that flowed out from the visitor's body, and the energy in his body was slowly drained. The world before his eyes started to spin like night had fallen, and everything turned black and red. His eyes closed, and he collapsed backward. Until the last moment before he fainted, his lips kept repeating the word, impossible. Of the group, only Lu Gang was still crawling on the ground. He crawled into the classroom, but when he wanted to close the door, a bloody broken hand blocked the door. Then, more and more hands grabbed onto the door. Don't come any closer. Don't come any closer. Quote. Lu Gang lifted his head to look. Faces appeared on the glass window outside the classroom. They were all stuck to the window, looking into it. If the terror level that a living person could receive was divided into 10 levels, Lu Gang felt like he was currently in the middle of 100 levels of terror. He had no idea when he fainted, but he knew that the moment he fainted, he felt a sense of bliss that he had not felt in a long time. If possible, I wish to sleep forever and never open my eyes again. Bang! The door was pushed open, and many ghosts rushed into the room. Then they stood on both sides of the room. The sound of footsteps came from afar. Chen Ge, who was wearing Mr. Bai's teacher's ID, walked over. He had placed the camera outside the blood-red campus, and he was only holding a phone in his hand. 1 minute and 3 seconds. You still need to work harder. Try to reduce the time needed to scare people to less than 1 minute. Chen Ge walked to stand before Lu Gang. The blood-red campus is very similar to the world behind the door. It's best to use it as a trump card and try not to let the visitors stay here for too long. Even though they were on different sides, even though they were enemies, Chen Ge still cared about Lu Gang.
The visitation time is 60 minutes. It's not time yet. Everyone, help me send them to the school's infirmary and let Dr. Wei examine them. Moving his broken arm, Bai dragged Lu Gang out of the classroom.
After giving some instructions, Chen Ge turned to the red high heels. The resentment in the visitors' hearts is exactly what you need. Using this method to squeeze out the negative emotions in their hearts is simple and effective, and it can be repeated over and over again. I'm not advising you to stay, I just want to tell you these things. If you don't wish to stay here in the future, you'll be able to take good care of yourself.
Quote. Seeing that the red high heels' reaction was not that strong, Chen Ge left. Returning to the school's infirmary, Chen Ge heard Dr. Wei's grumbling before he even entered the door. He very cleverly stood at the door and waited for a while before entering. Sir, how are they? I'm confused. Are you running a haunted house or a hospital? The visitors are here to visit, and you have to give them a full body check before sending them out?
But these few are the luckier ones, Chen Ge said casually.
They're all fine. The guy called Big Ghost was able to hear us because there's a lingering spirit of the dead hiding in his ear. When that lingering spirit came to our haunted house, it was scared out of its wits. Just now, under the persuasion of the doctors, that obsession has already dissipated. You're still the best. You cured his illness with just a few words. Go to the side and get them out of here. With the help of the haunted house workers, all 12 visitors were sent to the entrance of the School of the Afterlife. Chen Ge hurriedly ordered several trolleys from the underground morgue to transport all of them out of the underground scenario. Looking at the collapsed visitors, Chen Ge felt a headache coming. If the other visitors who passed by saw this, they would probably be given a fright. Taking out his phone, Chen Ge called Zhang Jingju. Lao Zhang, have you recorded Lu Gang's livestream?
Don't worry, from beginning to end, everything has been recorded. Zhang Jingju was very professional.
Send me the part where Lu Gang abandoned the camera and ran for his life. By the way, send me the part where they got into an argument with the medical student inside the haunted house and chased after the student.
Okay. 10 seconds later, Zhang Jingju sent the screenshot to Chen Ge.
After confirming it, Chen Ge pocketed his phone and loaded the visitors into the trolley. Humming a tune, he pushed the trolley and headed out of the haunted house.
The trolley's wheels rolled over the floor, creating a creaking sound. Chen Ge pulled back the thick black curtain at the entrance of the haunted house.
Sunlight fell, and it seemed to coat the trolley with a golden rim. It was like pairs of hands that gently caressed the sleeping faces.
He's coming out. Mr. Chen is coming out. Quote. He's coming with the trolley. Quote. Those are the visitors who went to the 4-star scenario earlier. My God, 3 of them have fainted. Quote.
The visitors who were still queuing up exploded. Those who had just bought their tickets and were about to enter the scenario abandoned the tour and rushed over. Move away. Don't crowd around, don't crowd around. When he heard the sound of wheels, Shu Shu had a bad feeling. He rushed over in a hurry, but he was still one step too late. The reporters who had been waiting for him rushed forward.
Is a 4-star scenario that scary? What happened to these 3 visitors inside your haunted house? Mr. Chen, please wait. Chen Ge ignored them and waved at Shu Shu. Uncle, get someone to carry the 3 of them into the resting tent.
Can't you just hand me the trolley? The trolley is still useful.
The 3 visitors were sent into the resting tent by the theme park workers. Chen Ge's haunted house became even busier. There were 3 layers of visitors inside and outside the haunted house.
This delightful scene satisfied the curiosity of countless tourists.
The creaking sound started again. Chen Ge pulled the trolley back into the haunted house. Half a minute later, he wheeled out another trolley of visitors.
Another 3? Don't tell me the visitors from the 4-star scenario were wiped out. But that was a group of more than 10 people. Seeing Chen Ge walk over, Shu Shu's eyes twitched, and he whispered, "The trolley. You still can't give it to me?"
Yes. Chen Ge nodded. There are still 2 trolleys left. The conversation was as calm as water, and it was a normal conversation, but it caused the visitors who heard it to gasp.
All the visitors who entered the 4-star scenario fainted. This is crazy.
Initially, I thought the haunted house was using the tiered system to scam us, but now I realize how ignorant I was. Can you change my ticket for Muyong High School? I wish to visit a 1-star scenario. Quote. The visitors were in a heated discussion, but Chen Ge silently pushed the trolley back into the haunted house. Following the creaking sound, he sent the remaining visitors out of the haunted house in 2 batches.
Other than Chen Ge, the busiest person at the scene was the doctor. Initially, many visitors did not understand why there was a first aid point next to the haunted house, but now they understood everything. After lending the trolley to the doctor, Chen Ge held Lu Gang's camera and stood at the entrance of the haunted house. Even then, the camera was still working. Everyone, please be quiet. Chen Ge pointed the camera at himself and then connected his phone to the big screen outside the haunted house that was playing the promotional video.
Yesterday, there was an internet VIP by the name of Lu Gang who tried his best to slander Chen Ge's haunted house online. Chen Ge pressed the play button on his phone, and the video that Lu Gang had taken appeared on the screen. Lu Gang, who held the fan in his hand, held the picture of the Night of the Living Dead scenario in the haunted house, and his face was filled with condescension. You call such a dilapidated place a haunted house? That's it. He used a picture from several years ago to spread rumors on the internet. In the end, I made a promise with him online and asked him if he dared come to my haunted house. If he thinks that my haunted house is not scary after he visits it, then I will apologize to him on the livestream. But if he thinks that it is scary, then he will have to apologize to New Century Park and post the apology notice on the front page of the haunted house. Quote.
After Chen Ge said that, he stopped the doctor. He placed Lu Gang, who was on the stretcher, under the big screen.
Facts speak louder than words. With Lu Gang's current condition, I don't think he will be able to post an apology notice. Actually, I did not expect him to be so weak. I saw how he attacked the haunted house online, and I thought that he was a very powerful person, so I increased the difficulty slightly. Chen Ge moved the camera back so that the camera could capture both Lu Gang, who was on the screen, and Lu Gang, who was on the screen. Right then, the video on the big screen reached its end. Lu Gang excitedly showed the information of his ticket purchase to the audience, and his voice came out through the park's broadcast. Some people are unable to recognize themselves, so I will go and help them. I will help them understand what they are.
After Lu Gang said that, he flipped open the fan handsomely, and the words that were written on it were, "Dancing Clown. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I will see you there."
The video ended there. Chen Ge held the camera and walked to the unconscious Lu Gang, who was foaming at the mouth. He took out his phone to look. It is now 10:10 a.m. Brother Gang will be sent to the hospital soon. If anyone has anything to say, I will relay it to him as soon as possible. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Looking at the comments, Chen Ge's lips curled up. Standing in the sun, he liked this warm feeling. After having the doctor send Lu Gang away, Chen Ge did not turn off the camera. He aimed it at the screen outside the haunted house. That's all about Lu Gang. Now, it's time to talk about someone else. He clicked open the video that Zhang Jingju had sent him. I was wondering why Lu Gang kept attacking the haunted house and praising the futuristic theme park until I saw this person in the crowd.
Chen Ge pointed at Bai Buhui on the screen. This is the designer of the futuristic theme park's haunted house. He has the employee ID from the futuristic theme park. He came to visit the haunted house with Lu Gang, and he should be sent to the same sick room later. The video continued to play, and it soon reached the point where Bai Buhui's group surrounded the medical students.
Small Ghost was very impulsive. He grabbed the male student's collar, and the couple looked very afraid. It doesn't matter how they insult me online, but they cannot harm my visitors inside my haunted house.
Chen Ge pointed at the pitiful couple on the screen. Thanks to everyone's care, haunted house has fallen to this stage. Their malicious attacks on other visitors have crossed the line. Tomorrow, I will personally go to the futuristic theme park to demand an explanation. Coincidentally, I heard that they have also built a haunted house there. Tomorrow, I will visit it alone and livestream the challenge. Those who wish to watch can follow my account.
The popularity of Liu Gang's livestream had reached an unbelievable level. After all, it was rare for a livestream host to slap himself in the face and make himself hospitalized.
Chen Ge wanted to use this popularity to build momentum for the next day. His real target was the futuristic theme park.
The haunted house was New Century Park's specialty. If this specialty was taken away by the other party, New Century Park would not be able to make a comeback. Therefore, Chen Ge decided to nip this bud in the bud and not give the other party any chance. New Century Park had been under construction for 10 years, and too few people were optimistic about it. If he wanted to save the park, Chen Ge had to do his best. That was the end of Liu Gang's livestream. Chen Ge thought about how they had all fainted, so he placed the camera back in the staff break room. When Chong Ji-yu woke up, perhaps it would come in handy during the filming. The 10 or so visitors fainted. The 4-star haunted house scenario had become a legend.
Everyone was curious about what was inside the 4-star scenario, but the problem was that everyone was unconscious, so they could not even reveal the design of the scenario. The key point was, other haunted houses on the market could send a few people in to get a general idea of the content, but no one dared to enter Chen Ge's 4-star scenario. Even the visitors who had entered the 3.5-star scenario were terrified. They were haunted houses' old fans, and they did not believe Chen Ge's claim that the difficulty had only increased by a little. The crowd at the entrance of haunted house only dispersed at noon. Seeing that no one wanted to challenge the 4-star scenario, Chen Ge had some of the employees return to their own scenarios. As more scenarios were unlocked in haunted house, the number of employees was obviously not enough. The living employees had to be reliable, and the specters had to be reasonable. Chen Ge sat in the staff break room and took out the black wheel. He looked at the wheel that was spinning based on the number of visitors' screens, and his finger moved slowly. I've already gotten 4 specters. If I get one more title, it'll level up. I need employees now, but after the title level up, will there be more changes? His fingers tapped on the table, and Chen Ge narrowed his eyes. The haunted house has accumulated a lot of screens. Should I bet everything on this and go big? After all, the titles will level up. If I draw a few more times, perhaps I'll get something other than a specter. Having something other than a specter was a good thing, but Chen Ge was worried that it would all be specters, and that would be a disaster. Oh well, I'll go to the futuristic theme park tomorrow to try. I can't force it. Chen Ge gave up on that dangerous idea. He lay in bed and was about to rest when Director Luo called again. Xiao Chen, are you sure you can go to the futuristic theme park alone tomorrow? I thought you'd bring your employees with you. Director Luo was worried about Chen Ge's safety. It'll be fine. Even though I look like I'm alone, I have a lot of support behind me. Chen Ge was not that worried. Director Luo, how's our business today? How does it compare to the futuristic theme park? The number of visitors and sales are lower, but it's not that far behind. Director Luo looked confident. The next few days are the key. As long as we can survive this holiday season, we'll have enough funds to upgrade our equipment and do more things. That's good, but you have to be careful. The sales haven't even started, and you've lost face today. The futuristic theme park will come up with ways to target you tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm not afraid of them targeting me. I'm more afraid that they won't. Chen Ge held the phone and smiled. As long as you have the confidence. Other than that, I'll say one more thing. The theme park is important, but you have to take care of your health. Don't think that it's fine just because you're young. Director Luo then hung up. It feels like Director Luo is so nice to me. Is it because of the haunted house or because of Luo Ruiyu? Chen Ge put down the phone and stopped thinking about it. He allowed the internet to explode while he hugged the white cat and fell asleep in the staff break room. At 6:30 p.m., New Century Park finally closed for the day. All the workers had worked hard for a whole day, and they were tired but happy. The old New Century Park was like an old man entering his twilight years, but on that day, it was rejuvenated, and it gave hope to those who treated this place as their home. The workers were exhausted. Chen Ge had them leave early while he carried the broom and mop to clean the haunted house. This was something that he had to do every day. Cleaning this old house gave him peace of mind. At 9 p.m., Chen Ge had a simple dinner. He walked out of New Century Park and was about to go to the workshop to work on his mannequin when he saw a student standing next to the bus stop across the street. The child had been looking at New Century Park. She stood alone in the shadows, wearing a wrinkled school uniform. The uniform from the School of the Afterlife? Seeing the uniform, Chen Ge immediately ran over, but when he crossed the street, the girl had disappeared. Where is she? Narrowing his eyes, Chen Ge soon found an old exercise book where the girl had been standing. After flipping it open, the book had a sentence written on it, "Home is gone, and I have nowhere to go. This is the student who left the School of the Afterlife with me." A small portion of the students who left the School of the Afterlife had successfully woken up, but most of them could not return. Chen Ge held the exercise book and looked around. He shouted sincerely, "If you don't mind, come with me." The passers-by thought he was crazy and avoided him, but Chen Ge did not mind. He continued to shout on the platform. Several minutes later, the girl in the wrinkled uniform walked out from the shadows. Her hands were held together like she was nervous. "It's fine. I told you, if you have nowhere to go, you can come find me." Chen Ge extended his hand toward the empty platform. "You can call me Chen Ge. Or you can call me boss. We have a big family, and we get along very well. Do you want some milk tea? There's a new one over there. Come, it's my treat." The neon lights shone at the corner, and the traffic continued. Chen Ge walked on the street and talked to himself. Occasionally, he would smile like a child. Looking at the passing cars, Chen Ge held 2 cups of milk tea and walked down the isolated road. From his conversation with the girl, he found out that she was one of the members of the student council. Other than her, there were many other students who had nowhere to go, and they wandered around the city. "Do you know where they are? Let's go fetch them home." Quote. The girl did not reject Chen Ge's suggestion. They returned to New Century Park first. After grabbing Yan Danian's comic, they started to search for other homeless children. They busied themselves until midnight, and there were already more than 60 students lingering spirits in the comic. Most of them were in the same class as the girl. Many of them had already given up, waiting for the sun to shine, but they did not expect Chen Ge to appear at that moment. "Do any of you know anyone else?" Chen Ge very patiently confirmed with every student that he had not missed anything before returning to New Century Park. He summoned Lao Zhou's group and had them introduce the haunted house to these new students. In the end, he arranged for all of them to stay at the School of the Afterlife. This 4-star scenario had a serious lack of employees, and the arrival of the students' lingering spirits helped Chen Ge solve a big problem. "If only you guys had come one day earlier. It's that Liu Gang's fault for not being able to experience a 4-star scenario with 100% difficulty." After dealing with the students, Chen Ge returned to the staff break room. "We're going to the futuristic theme park tomorrow, so I'll go to bed early today." Switching off the lights, Chen Ge hugged the white cat and lay in bed. He habitually took out the black phone to look at it. Midnight had already passed. After refreshing the daily missions, Chen Ge suddenly sat up with the black phone in his hand. The 3 new daily missions were: recruitment, normal difficulty. The scenario is expanding, and there is a serious lack of manpower. You need more employees, so please hire 3 employees before sunset tomorrow. Safety protection, medium difficulty. Please install at least 20 surveillance cameras in the new scenario, School of the Afterlife. Neighbor, nightmare difficulty. You don't go home often, so you probably wouldn't expect this. The day before your parents disappeared, something scary happened at home. I know you're curious about what happened that night. Perhaps you can go ask your neighbor. Chen Ge's eyes focused on the nightmare mission. He had not encountered a nightmare mission for a long time already. Normal daily missions required time and energy, and the rewards were average, but nightmare missions were different. This kind of mission was very dangerous, but it was the only mission that could give Chen Ge some kind of power. In the previous nightmare missions, Chen Ge had obtained Mortician's Makeup, Yin-Yang Vision, and Ghost Ear. These 4 powers had helped him a lot in many ways. Through the nightmare missions, Chen Ge realized something special. All the nightmare missions were related to his parents, and they all seemed to contain clues about his parents' disappearance. If you refuse, the daily missions will be refreshed at midnight tomorrow. Chen Ge glanced at the time. It was 12:44 a.m., This is not a bad time. Chen Ge thought about it and pointed at the nightmare mission.
Spectres favored, do you wish to accept the nightmare mission? The mission is extremely dangerous.
Yes. After confirming it, the details of the mission appeared on the black phone.
Neighbor, nightmare difficulty, please find a residential building with more than 15 floors in eastern Zhejiang. The building has to fulfill 2 conditions, it has a basement and does not have a 14th floor.
After you find the location, please enter the stairwell at 2 a.m. From the moment you step on the stairs, you have to close your eyes. Successfully walk from the first floor to the top floor, and the mission will be completed. When you open your eyes, you will see what you wish to see. Warning. The nightmare mission must be completed alone. You are not allowed to bring any lingering spirits or specters with you. And you are not allowed to bring anything related to the haunted house into the nightmare mission. Hint. Before you reach the top floor, no matter what you hear, smell, or touch, do not open your eyes. This is the only way for you to survive.
Chen Ge memorized the details of the mission. He read it several times, but he still could not understand why a mission like this would be called neighbor. To put it simply, I have to close my eyes and climb from the first floor to the top floor. Will I run into a neighbor along the way?
It was easy to say, but very difficult to do. In that kind of environment, a normal person would habitually open their eyes at the slightest movement. The nightmare missions that I accepted earlier did not specify the location, but this mission requires me to go to eastern Zhejiang. That is a place that my parents forbade me from going. Since he had accepted the mission, there was no turning back now. Chen Ge took out his phone to search for a building that fit the criteria. He keyed in a few keywords and the result popped up. Zhongyuan Apartments? Seeing the name of the residential area, Chen Ge's brows creased together. He was very familiar with this residential area. When he was young, his parents had rented there when they first came to Zhejiang. When he entered primary school, the family moved from eastern Zhejiang to western Zhejiang. In other words, before he was 6, he had lived at Zhongyuan Apartments in eastern Zhejiang. He could not remember the reason for the move. Thinking back, Chen Ge only had a hazy memory of it. It was raining heavily that day. Later, Chen Ge's memory of Zhongyuan Apartments came from the newspapers and the news. Not long after Chen Ge's parents moved away, something bad happened there. He could not remember what exactly happened, but now he could only remember that whenever he mentioned the name Zhongyuan Apartments to his parents would come up with various excuses to avoid mentioning it. 20 years had passed, and the original Zhongyuan Apartments had been leveled and rebuilt. Now, the small tube-shaped apartments had disappeared from Zhongyuan Apartments. Only 2 17-story buildings remained. These 2 buildings faced each other, but strangely enough, only one of them was occupied. Due to various reasons, the other building had not been completed. The current Zhongyuan Apartments was more famous than before, but it was all negative. Based on the information that he found online, many of the tenants there had committed suicide. Ever since the residential area was built, the number of tenants had decreased. When he passed by at night, he could only see a few lights on. The building has 17 floors in total, and there is a basement. To avoid certain things, the developer put the number of the 15th floor on the floor above the 13th. Chen Ge looked at the information that he had found. This building perfectly fits the black phone's requirement. In fact, I suspect that it purposely sent me to this building to complete the mission. The old house that I lived in when I was young has been demolished, and now that I've grown up, I have to use this method to return to find my neighbors. Chen Ge knew very well that the neighbors that he was looking for were definitely not human. This mission is related to my parents' whereabouts, so there's no reason for me to give up. Based on the mission description, I only need to close my eyes and not open them. Chen Ge pocketed the black phone and turned to the white cat. I can only go there alone. I can't bring any specters or lingering spirits. I can't bring anything related to the haunted house either. Will the ghost fetus notice me if I bring these things with me? Since that was the black phone's request, Chen Ge had no choice but to follow. He put on his jacket and found a sturdy rope in the drawer. He tied one end to his wrist and the other to the white cat. Other people tie ropes to their pets because they're afraid that they won't be able to find them. I tie the rope to the white cat because I'm afraid that it won't be able to find me if I wander off to the wrong place. The white cat, who was lying comfortably on the bed, looked at Chen Ge with alertness. Its ears perked up, and its eyes moved between itself and the rope.
Come, I'll take you to eat something nice. Chen Ge wanted to pick up the white cat, but the cat gripped the bedsheet and refused to let go.
Aren't you cats nocturnal animals? Why are you staying in bed all day?
If you don't exercise, you won't be able to run anymore.
Don't be afraid, I promise I won't abandon you no matter what happens. Do you see this rope? This is the solid bond between you and me.
Sir, I need to go to the lighting factory opposite Zhongyuan Apartments in eastern Zhejiang. Chen Ge hugged the white cat and sat in the backseat of the taxi. He had experience now. He would not tell the driver that he needed to go to those dangerous places to prevent the driver from rejecting him. That place is quite remote. Why are you going to the lighting factory so late at night? The driver studied Chen Ge through the rear-view mirror. It was not that he was being too careful, but a passenger like Chen Ge was too unique. He was taking a cat from western Zhejiang to eastern Zhejiang at 1 a.m. The lighting factory is owned by my family. Something happened there, so I need to go and take a look.
Hasn't the factory closed down already? The driver was even more confused. That's right. We had to go there because it's closed down. Do you think such a big factory will be abandoned if it closes down? Chen Ge's tone carried a trace of dissatisfaction. It seemed that he was not in a good mood. Don't think that I'm being naggy, but eastern Zhejiang hasn't been very peaceful lately. The place you're going to had an incident a few days ago. What is it? In the residential area opposite the lighting factory. It seems like the husband accidentally fell from the balcony after drinking too much. The scariest thing is that the drunkard was driven home by my colleague. In short, there's something strange about that place. The driver started the car. I don't believe in these things. Chen Ge smiled indifferently. My family always told me that money makes the world go round. If you're afraid of ghosts, it only means that you don't have enough money. The driver was speechless and no longer tried to dissuade Chen Ge. Chen Ge also got some peace and quickly searched for relevant information. Half an hour later, the taxi sent Chen Ge to eastern Zhejiang. After paying the fare, Chen Ge carried the white cat and headed toward Zhongyuan Apartments. The driver behind him was dumbfounded. The mission requirement is to start at 2 a.m. Chen Ge crossed the road and came to the entrance of the residential area. Two buildings stood in front of them, surrounded by darkness, looking very desolate. Ever since he moved, this was the first time that Chen Ge had returned to this place, and the scene in his memory had changed. Is there no security in such a big residential area? The gate to the residential area was half open, but the guard's room was sealed and locked. He walked further in, and there were many flyers scattered on the road. Only 2 streetlights were on, and one of them was flickering. Chen Ge lifted his head to look. There were 2 buildings on his left and right. One was dark and lifeless. The other building had a few lights on, and clothes that had not been collected hung on the balcony. There should be no problem since there are people living here, but why are all the lights on the ground floor? The 2 buildings at Zhongyuan Apartments fit the mission requirement. For safety's sake, Chen Ge chose the one that was occupied. He approached the building with the white cat in his arms. He saw that the walls next to the staircase were filled with all kinds of notices. Some were urging the owners to pay the fees, some were jointly complaining about the property management, and there were also notices of missing items and missing persons. The management is messy. Did the developer run away with the money? Chen Ge walked into the stairwell. The stairwell was on the left, and the elevator was on the right. He pressed the button for the elevator to take a look. He did not find the button that represented the 14th floor on the control panel, and above the 13th floor was the 15th floor. After confirming the number of floors, Chen Ge walked into the stairwell. He looked at the stairs before him. Each floor has 26 steps, and 13 steps make up a section. There's a turning point in the middle, and the height of the steps is about. He repeated the process several times to let his legs get used to the height of the steps. There's a special requirement in the mission. The building has to have a basement, and there is no 14th floor. I have to take these 2 factors into consideration. Chen Ge leaned against the corner of the stairs and looked down. There's a basement, but it shouldn't be occupied. All the doors are locked, but I have no idea what they're for. Then he raised his head to look up the stairs. Floor after floor, they intersected with each other like the stairway to heaven. Only the first and fourth floors have lights installed, and they're still on when there's no sound. This means that they're not voice-activated lights. Chen Ge first closed his eyes before opening them again. Even with my eyes closed, I can still feel the change in the light. It was very difficult to reach the top floor with one's eyes closed. It not only required courage but also a strong determination. The difficulty of the nightmare mission is getting higher. Is it because I'm getting closer to the truth? Since he could not bring a specter with him, Chen Ge could only make other preparations. He glanced at the time and took out a piece of black cloth from his pocket. The mission requires me to keep my eyes closed, but it didn't say that I can't blindfold myself. This should reduce the difficulty. The opaque black cloth could make the eyes less sensitive, but even with the blindfold, Chen Ge would not open his eyes during the mission because the scary things might crawl under the black cloth. Touching the white cat's head, Chen Ge placed it on his shoulder. Little ancestor, in a while, you'll be my eyes. So don't wander off. You don't have to remind me if there's anything particularly terrifying, unless it wants to kill us. Then, you can scratch and bite me, understand? There was not much time left. Chen Ge did not care whether the white cat understood him or not. He had it stay on his shoulder and took out his phone. When it was 10 seconds to 2 a.m., he closed his eyes and then tied the black cloth around his eyes. It's starting. After closing his eyes, the world sank into darkness. Chen Ge held the wall and took the first step. After he closed his eyes, darkness covered everything, but this darkness did not represent despair and loneliness. Instead, it made him feel like he was placed inside a giant bubble that could contain all kinds of fantasies. Memory and reality intertwined like a dream. As he moved forward step by step, the hard shell of the real world was peeled open. Now Chen Ge understood why all the nightmare missions required him to close his eyes to complete them. He wanted to walk into another world, and he wanted to see the lingering spirit that was hiding in the shadow of the real world. Counting the steps in his heart, Chen Ge held the wall and soon reached the second floor. His fingertips could feel the dust on the wall, his nose could smell the faded smell of mold, and his own footsteps echoed in his ears. At that moment, the impassable visual barrier was gone, and the world became different. There's nothing wrong with the white tiger, which means that I haven't run into any danger yet. The first and fourth floors are equipped with lights, but the real trouble lies above the fourth floor. Going up the stairs blindfolded was not that difficult for Chen Ge. He could recreate the scene inside the stairwell in his mind, and his body had gotten used to the height of the stairs. What he needed to do now was to focus and not be distracted by anything as he slowly moved to the top floor. I should be on the second floor now. Moving his feet, Chen Ge was about to go to the third floor when he suddenly heard an intense argument coming from one of the rooms in the corridor on the second floor. All you do is drink. Has your family ever cared about the life and death of me and the child? Ever since I became pregnant, you guys have not asked a single question. Every time I go for a checkup, I have to spend my own money. Also, I have had enough of your mother's attitude. If you feel wronged, then get lost. If not for the fact that you left the door unlocked, Da Bao wouldn't have been lost. Now you're blaming me, right? You left in the middle of the night, and I was still pregnant with Bao. Has your heart been eaten by a dog? Don't pester me. I repeat, I need to go to work that day. The soundproofing of the building was not bad, but the couple was arguing fiercely, and they appeared to have gotten physical. About 10 seconds later, Chen Ge heard the door open, and someone walked out from the room. Judging from the footsteps, the person was wearing leather shoes, so it should be the man. The quarrel continued. The man cursed and slammed the door shut. Footsteps echoed down the corridor, and a heavy stench of alcohol closed in on Chen Ge. After the man entered the stairwell, he suddenly stopped cursing. He seemed to be startled by Chen Ge, who was standing in the corridor. The footsteps paused for a moment, then they went downstairs and soon disappeared. How much did this guy drink? The surroundings became quiet again, but the smell of alcohol did not completely dissipate. Chen Ge continued up. He silently counted the steps. When he reached the third floor, he suddenly felt a little strange. Why do I smell alcohol? If the man had already left, the smell of alcohol should have completely dissipated, unless he was following me. A picture appeared in Chen Ge's mind. He was blindfolded, and behind him was a drunkard with a twisted mind and a hideous face. When people are under great pressure, they will indeed gain pleasure by bullying the weak. Chen Ge did not turn around. If the man was a bad person, then it would be fine, but he was afraid that it might be something else.
On the way here, I heard from the driver that there was a murder at this building not long ago. The victim was drunk, so the person following me might not be a human.
His nose could clearly smell the smell of alcohol, but his ears could not hear anything.
I ran into a problem when I reached the 3rd floor, and I still have to go up another 10 floors.
Fear could be overcome, but what was hard to overcome was the unknown. Chen Ge was stuck in a dilemma. This nightmare mission was much more difficult than he expected. He had just reached the 3rd floor. If he gave up on the mission and escaped, it should not be a problem.
But if he continued to go up, the risk of giving up on the mission would only increase.
The chance of a nightmare mission spawning is very low. If I give up this time, who knows when I'll run into it again? After stopping for a while on the 3rd floor, Chen Ge moved up to the 4th floor. When he got close to the light, even with his eyes closed, Chen Ge could feel the change in the light. He was sure that he was on the 4th floor. I've walked a quarter of the way down, and there are no problems for now.
Holding onto the wall, Chen Ge carefully moved up to the 5th floor. When he raised his leg, his shoe knocked over something.
The sound was crisp, like a porcelain bowl. He slowly squatted down and searched the ground. His fingertips touched an apple, cooked white rice, and 2 wooden chopsticks. The chopsticks appeared to be stuck in the rice. He could feel that one end was sticky. Serving rice in the stairwell? Something happened on this floor? Of the entire building, only the 1st and 4th floors were equipped with lights, which inevitably made people think too much. Putting the bowl back, Chen Ge bowed at the table. I'm so sorry, please forgive me. If you want compensation, you can follow me home when I leave. You can take whatever you like. Then, Chen Ge left the 4th floor and headed for the 5th floor.
The last ray of light disappeared. Facing away from the light source on the 4th floor, Chen Ge slowly moved up the stairs. 5th floor, 6th floor. When he reached the 7th floor, the smell of alcohol disappeared.
Has it left? If it's the man who died a few days ago, and he suddenly left after reaching the 7th floor, it means that there might be something scarier than him on the 7th floor, and he did not dare come up.
The other possibility is that something scary is standing before me now, and it was this new thing that scared the man away. He knew what was before him, but he could not see it, and that was a very uncomfortable feeling.
The white cat did not warn me, so it's still acceptable. Chen Ge bent down slightly to lower his center of gravity to prevent himself from tripping.
Slowing down, Chen Ge slowly moved up, but when he raised his arm and put it down, he froze where he was. The sensation that came from his fingertips was no longer the cold wall, but it was elastic like human skin.
After standing there for a few seconds, Chen Ge's hand slowly slid down. Based on the sensation that came from his fingertips, he was sure that he was touching a human face.
His Adam's apple moved, and Chen Ge's body seemed to have frozen.
If it was someone else, they would have screamed already, but Chen Ge did not. He still maintained a surprisingly calm demeanor.
His fingers exerted some force, and through the touch, Chen Ge understood 2 things.
1. This was a child's face. 2. The skin was bone-chilling like it had just been taken out from the fridge, so it was definitely not a human.
The nose is very sharp, but I have an impression of this face. Chen Ge was reminded of the missing person notice that he saw on the wall when he first entered the stairwell. The child on the notice had a similar face. Chen Ge had the talent of mortician's makeup and dollmaker, and he had personally made hundreds of dolls, so he trusted his judgment. This face is 80% similar to the face of the child in the picture, but the question is, why would I touch this face on the wall? Could it be that the child on the missing person's notice has already been killed? Is the body related to the wall? Slowly pulling back his arm, Chen Ge stood where he was. The surroundings were quiet, and there was no sound or smell.
The arguing couple on the 2nd floor lost their child, and the child's name is Da Bao. The missing person's notice outside the stairwell was probably posted by them. The couple on the 2nd floor are looking for their lost child, but I touched the child's face on the wall. Did the child turn into a ghost and return to this building? Or was he killed inside this building? Could the killer be one of the tenants inside this building?
The more Chen Ge thought about it, the more likely it seemed. The husband left the house late at night, and the pregnant wife chased after him without locking the door. Under normal circumstances, the child who was left alone in the house would not sneak out alone unless he saw something or someone familiar was calling him from outside the door. Is the killer a neighbor? The term, neighbor, was very common, but for Chen Ge, it had a different meaning because the daily mission that he was doing was named, neighbor. Chen Ge took a step forward. He felt that it would be safer to lean against the wall, but when his palm was about to touch the wall, he stopped. The earlier scene had left a shadow in his heart, and he was worried that he might touch something strange again.
His fingers slid down one by one, and when they touched the cold and hard surface of the wall, Chen Ge sighed in relief. If it was not necessary, he did not want to touch the people who passed by.
I'm just here to complete the mission. There's no need for me to investigate what happened here. I only need to close my eyes and walk to the roof. The rest has nothing to do with me. Chen Ge took another step forward, but when his body moved, he suddenly felt something pull on the corner of his shirt. Is it that child? Chen Ge froze on the stairs. His eyes were closed, and he could not see anything. He could only wait for the woman to let go. After about 5 seconds, Chen Ge took another step forward. He could clearly feel a force pulling him from behind.
The other party had no intention of letting go, so Chen Ge did not dare to force it. He tried to take a step back, and the pulling force was clearly reduced.
It seems like something doesn't want me to leave. A terrifying thought emerged in his mind. Chen Ge slowly crouched down and whispered behind him, "Dabao."
The pulling force disappeared for a moment, but it quickly returned to normal.
Is it really you? Chen Ge tried his best to speak slowly. Your parents are looking for you. Hurry up and go home. Perhaps Chen Ge's words had triggered the woman, but he felt the pulling force behind him suddenly increase like it was trying to drag him into the wall. Wait a minute, if you don't like your parents and don't want to go home, I can accompany you. Chen Ge immediately changed his mind. Actually, my childhood wasn't that beautiful. My parents always argued over small things. Seeing their scary faces, I could only hide in the corner alone. Other people's families have a lively meal, but my family is always deserted. Occasionally, when the family of 3 gets together, they will part on bad terms. Quote. It appeared like no one had said something like that to him before. Chen Ge could feel the pulling force behind him lessening. Arguing, smashing things at home, sometimes their anger would be directed at me. The scolding and beating that came out of nowhere forced me to live my life carefully. I don't even dare cry too loudly. Chen Ge sighed softly. Even though I've grown up, I will not forget the things that happened in the past. The scars were not erased by time, but as time went on, I slowly learned to adapt to the pain. Chen Ge squatted down on the stairs. He turned around to face the darkness and mumbled to himself, "Isn't it sad? I'm just a child. I can't get the love of an adult, but I have to force myself to be a sensible adult." Quote. The pulling force slowly weakened. Chen Ge's words seemed to resonate with the woman. I've experienced that kind of feeling, and because of that, I've become sensitive. I'm suspicious of everything. I know that it's not a good feeling, so if you don't mind, I can be your friend. I don't want you to experience the sadness that I once felt. The force behind him disappeared completely, but Chen Ge maintained his posture and did not move. An adult's response to a child was like a mirror. A good response would allow the child to see the best of themselves, but a bad response would be like a laughing mirror that would distort the child's perception of the world. Even though Chen Ge did not have a child, he had interacted with children many times, so he knew how to respond to a person. Da Bao's family was unfortunate. If it was within his power, Chen Ge was willing to help. There was no sound around him, and his clothes stopped being pulled. The child seemed to have left. Chen Ge could not see anything. His hand pressed against the wall, and he did not touch anything strange. Don't worry, I'll leave. I'm just going to the rooftop. After I'm done, I'll come back. After saying that into the darkness, Chen Ge slowly stood up. He held the wall and was about to move up when his hand that was close to the railing suddenly felt a chill like someone had shoved a block of ice into his palm.
With his fingertips shaking, Chen Ge's fingers clenched. He was sure that his hand had been grabbed by another hand.
Goosebumps rose on his neck. Chen Ge stood where he was for 2 seconds before grabbing the small hand tightly. "We can go together, but you have to remember one thing. If there's any danger, you have to run away as fast as you can. Don't worry about me, understand?" Holding the hand, Chen Ge continued to move up. He smoothly moved from the 7th floor to the 11th floor, and he did not run into any accidents along the way.
But when he reached the 11th floor, the elevator in the corridor rang, and the door opened. It appeared like someone had taken the elevator to the 11th floor in the middle of the night. He had no idea whether the person was a ghost or a human. To prevent any misunderstanding, Chen Ge stopped moving. Footsteps echoed down the corridor, and then there was the sound of keys knocking against each other. Then the key was inserted into the lock, the spring moved, and the anti-theft door was opened.
Just as Chen Ge thought that the person was about to enter the room, a giant force came from the corridor. Someone was grabbing his left arm like they were trying to drag him into the room that had just opened. His body lost balance, and the blindfolded Chen Ge almost fell. At that moment, another force pulled on his right arm, trying to stop him from being dragged away. Even though Chen Ge had no idea what was in the corridor, he knew that he could not be dragged into that room. His arms were grabbed, and his eyes were blinded. Chen Ge could only rely on his instinct to kick down the corridor. He seemed to have kicked something, and his calf ached, but the pain made Chen Ge more alert. "White tiger. Bite him." Quote. The only thing that Chen Ge could trust was the white cat, but to his surprise, the white cat on his shoulder did not move at all. He could feel the weight on his neck not lightening at all. His body was dragged, and the two argued for half a minute at the entrance of the corridor. Suddenly, Chen Ge heard a man's voice coming from the corridor. "Do you want to die? I'm trying to save you. There's a ghost in the corridor." Quote. Following this voice, the force that pulled on Chen Ge's arm increased again. Now Chen Ge was faced with a choice. Should he follow the man's voice into the corridor or continue to move toward the top of the building? Chen Ge made his choice in less than a second. He yelled down the corridor, "It's humans who forced them to their deaths, why should I be afraid of ghosts? If you really want to save me, then let go." Quote. At this crucial moment, Chen Ge insisted on staying on the stairs. He would rather stay with a ghost whose identity was confirmed than leave with a stranger. The force on his arm weakened. Finally, there was the sound of the door closing. The man who wanted to drag Chen Ge into his room seemed to have left. Why is he in such a hurry? Is he looking for a scapegoat? The last person who used me as a scapegoat is still inside the painting. Chen Ge slowly stood up. The sound of the door closing is very close to me, and the man's room is near the staircase. I'll bring the other employees tomorrow to visit him. His arms slowly moved. Touching the stairs and the wall, Chen Ge confirmed his location.
"Thank you for earlier." Chen Ge turned to the railing. His hand was no longer held, so he was not sure whether the boy was still there or not.
Da bao. There was no reply. Chen Ge stood where he was for a while before continuing to move up the stairs. The situation is worse than I predicted. I thought there would only be 2 or 3 specters and some lingering spirits in this building, but it looks like I was too optimistic. It was difficult for lingering spirits to cause actual harm to a person, so the man and the boy who had grabbed Chen Ge's arm earlier were not simple lingering spirits. They were malicious spirits. They had only reached the 11th floor, and they had already encountered 2 malicious spirits. The path ahead would definitely be more difficult. Moving his feet, Chen Ge suddenly felt as though he had stepped on something wet when he arrived between the 11th and 12th floor. Water stains. None of the lights on the top floor of the building were on. How could there be water stains in the corridor at night? The pipe is broken. Quote. Chen Ge was sure that he was not stepping on blood. Blood coagulated very quickly, and the fake blood at his haunted house had all been diluted. This should be water. Just as that thought crossed his mind, he felt a chill on his face like a drop of water had fallen on his face. Before he could reach out to touch his face, he suddenly felt a cold sensation around his ankle, as if a snake had just brushed past his leg. What's going on?
The air turned damp, and there was a light smell of blood. When Chen Ge was thinking, a woman's voice came from the stairs ahead.
It's so cold. The voice was soft, and it was shivering. There's someone up ahead. Chen Ge slowed down, and his mind turned quickly.
There was a mist around them, and the person felt cold. Was it because her death was related to water? Or was her body hidden inside the freezer? Chen Ge thought about it for a long time, but in reality, it was only a few seconds. He continued to move forward. When he was about to pass the location where the voice came from, he suddenly felt a chill on his legs. The chill was spreading toward the back of his neck like something was slowly crawling up his back. So cold, this time, the shivering voice came from behind Chen Ge. The person seemed to be following behind him, one step away from him.
Standing in the dark corridor with his eyes closed, he could not see anything, but he could feel someone standing behind him. Every time he took a step, the people behind him followed. That cold feeling did not dissipate. Instead, it grew stronger and stronger.
Chen Ge did not act rashly. He slowly raised his hands and reached for the buttons on his jacket.
He undid the buttons one by one, and then he took off the jacket and gently pulled it over his back. Put it on, stranger. I cannot help you change the things that have already happened. I only hope that this jacket can bring you some warmth. The jacket appeared to be covering something. Perhaps Chen Ge's action was too sudden, and it was completely out of the person's expectation. Other than this stupid cat, I have nothing else. I am the kind of person who does not matter. I am very indifferent to death, but that does not affect my love for life. Chen Ge leaned against the wall and slowly squatted down. In the end, he sat directly on the stairs. This night is long and boring. Can we talk for a while? With the blindfold, Chen Ge could not see anything. Without his employees and without any tools, Chen Ge could not do anything. At that moment, he was very open-minded. Leaning against the wall, there was a smile on Chen Ge's face. In the dark, damp, and eerie corridor, the smile on his face appeared very special. If you don't mind, why don't you sit next to me? Chen Ge lightly patted the stairs next to him. I am one of those lonely people. I envy people who can joke around and have endless topics to talk about. Watching them celebrate, I will always find a quiet corner to stay by myself. That is my happiness. Slowly, people have gotten used to me. To be honest, you are the first person who has talked to me recently. Quote. With his lips slightly open, Chen Ge, who sat on the stairs, raised his head to look beside him. Can you stay with me for a while? There was a rustling sound in his ears. Chen Ge's fingers touched the jacket that he had just pulled over his back. The stranger, who followed behind him, sat next to him on the stairs. Thank you for accompanying me. I am not that good at communicating with others. If possible, can I listen to your story? The sincerity in his voice was tinged with a trace of pleading. It was hard to say no. My body was pressed together, and it was very cold. I could not hug myself.
Where are you? Can I go find you? Can I help you? Chen Ge really wanted to help the stranger. There was at least one murder case hidden inside this building. My head was placed on the back, my arms were broken, and both of my legs were on the second floor. He used to hate me, but when he waved the cleaver, he laughed. He said that he had finally found the good side of an anorexic girl. He rarely praised me like that. He said that I was very thin, very small, and easy to hide. That day, he told me many things, things that he would not normally say to me. The person that you're talking about, is he still in this building? Chen Ge could hear the trembling in the voice beside him.
He moved out, and he hasn't been back for a long time.
Then, do you wish to see him again? Chen Ge tugged on the edge of his shirt. I believe you have many things that you wish to tell him. After all, it was he who made you feel cold all over.
It's fine. I will help you. I will definitely help you. Chen Ge held the wall as he slowly stood up. If he hasn't left Zhujiang, I will bring him back within a week. After you see him, I can bring you to a warmer place.
Quote. The woman did not answer, but Chen Ge was not in a hurry. Now I have another reason to live. You can keep the jacket. I will return.
Moving his feet, Chen Ge was about to move up when the woman's voice rang out behind him again. Don't go any further. You won't be able to come back.
I won't be able to come back. Why? Because above the 13th floor is the 14th floor.
A jacket was shoved into Chen Ge's hands, and the cold and damp feeling slowly dissipated. What is she trying to tell me? Chen Ge gripped the jacket in his hands. The buildings at Zhongyuan Apartments don't have 14th floors. Above the 13th floor should be the 15th floor, but she said that above the 13th floor is the 14th floor. In other words, the 14th floor actually exists. Quote.
At this point, Chen Ge would not retreat. He knew that he was very close to the truth.
Counting the number of steps in his heart, Chen Ge came to the 13th floor. This floor was very quiet. It was like a normal apartment building, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Moving toward the 14th floor, when Chen Ge was halfway there, his nose twitched. He smelled the aroma of rice.
He had no idea what it was made of, and he had no idea what kind of dish it was, but his brain seemed to recognize that it was the aroma of rice in that moment. It was like it was imprinted in his memory. It came from the 14th floor. Is someone cooking?
Step by step, Chen Ge felt that there were a lot of steps between the 13th and 14th floors. He didn't know if it was because he had used up too much of his stamina or because he was too tired mentally. Even though the number of steps was the same as the other floors and the number of times he raised his leg was the same, it still took him more time. His fingertips fell, and cracks appeared on the originally smooth wall. There seemed to be a lot of junk in the corridor.
Everything around him gave Chen Ge a sense of familiarity and strangeness.
He mechanically repeated the action of lifting his leg and putting it down. Smelling the fragrance of the rice, he finally arrived at the 14th floor. Just as he steadied himself, the axle in the corridor turned, and a steel door opened. Then a man's voice came from the end of the corridor. Chen Ge, you're home. The moment he heard the voice, Chen Ge's mind went blank. He quickly turned around and faced the corridor.
He had heard this man's voice for more than 20 years. He didn't know how many times he had heard this sentence since he was young. He had memorized this voice in his heart and carved it into his bones.
The meal is ready. When you came upstairs, your mother heard your footsteps.
His nails dug into his flesh. Chen Ge slowly raised his arms and grabbed the black cloth that covered his eyes.
He wanted to take a look. He had never wanted to open his eyes so badly.
His hands that gripped the black cloth tightened, and greenish-black veins surfaced on the back of his hands.
How does it feel to go to school alone for the first time? Other children have been sent to and from school. No one bullied you, right? Did you make any friends? Your personality is so similar to mine, so you shouldn't be so unpopular, right? Quote. Wash your hands, don't run around. The sentences came from the end of the corridor until the axle turned again, and the steel door closed.
The man's voice disappeared, and the voices of other people came from the corridor. There were men and women, young and old.
What's wrong with the new family? They wait for the child to fall asleep every night before going out. No wonder the child has nightmares every night. Quote. Did you hear that? The house is filled with laughter in the morning and crying at night. Isn't the child afraid of being alone in the house? This is weird. I saw the family of 3 go out in the morning with my own eyes today. How come there is a child crying in the house at night? My brothers, I've realized something. It's not the adults that have problems with the new family, it's the child that has problems. I saw with my own eyes a doctor from some hospital in Shanghai come to treat the child. Don't let your own child play with him. Quote. How come it feels like the child's illness has worsened after being treated by the doctor? Do you know? The child tells his parents his nightmares in the morning, and when his parents are not home at night, he tells his own shadow about the nightmares. It's so scary. Quote.
That can't be right. He doesn't sleep at night or day, so when did he start having nightmares? Are the children really talking about dreams?
Don't scare me. Never mind, they are moving away soon anyway. Just wait a few more days. Moving away. Yes, I heard they're moving to Western Zhejiang. The child's parents are going to work at a theme park. The voices in his ears slowly disappeared. Chen Ge was still standing where he was. His hands were still gripping the black cloth that blindfolded his eyes. After a while, Chen Ge took a deep breath. I only remember the beautiful things. I have forgotten most of the things that the neighbors told me, but there are a few key points that I need to pay attention to. When I was very young, I came into contact with a doctor from Shanghai Hospital. It was after he treated me that I started to tell my shadow the nightmares.
It was then that my shadow became strange, and the key to everything was that doctor.
The doctor came from Shanghai, and the cursed hospital is between Shanghai and Zhejiang. Is this a coincidence?
Standing on the 14th floor, Chen Ge silently turned around to face the corridor that was filled with all kinds of voices.
His hands that gripped the black cloth slowly tightened. Finally, he removed the slightly damp black cloth. At that moment, his eyes were still closed. I wish I could see all of you the moment I open my eyes, but I know that is impossible. Chen Ge did not turn around. With his hand on the wall, he continued to move upward. You once gave me everything you had. Now, I will use everything I have to find you.
In the dark corridor, Chen Ge's back was slightly different from usual.
15th floor, 16th floor, 17th floor.
Counting the number of steps in his heart, Chen Ge knew that he had arrived at the 17th floor. Theoretically speaking, this was the top floor of this building, but he did not hurry to open his eyes.
The 14th floor does not exist, but the girl with the cold body said that the 14th floor is above the 13th floor. This building originally had 17 floors. Adding the extra 14 floors, there should be a total of 18 floors. It is like the 18 levels of hell. Quote. After saying that, Chen Ge moved his feet along the wall. Soon, the tip of his shoes touched the stairs that led up.
There is indeed an 18th floor. It was a simple movement, but for the current Chen Ge, it was quite taxing. His head felt heavy, and there seemed to be many things pressing on his body. There was a force trying to pull him back. Chen Ge had no idea what was hiding in the dark, and he had no idea whether there were ghosts around him or not. Actually, not being able to see was not a bad thing. At least it would not add to the panic. It took him several minutes to walk from the 17th floor to the 18th floor.
When Chen Ge reached the 18th floor, he almost tripped.
My body is so cold, and my head is so dizzy. Chen Ge was very tired, and the exhaustion came from his mind. It felt like he had been working for more than 10 hours straight.
I should be on the top floor now. Chen Ge leaned against the wall, and he still did not open his eyes.
For safety's sake, he bent down and used his hands to touch the ground and the wall. He did not miss a single corner. He had finally reached the top, and he could not afford to make any mistakes at the last moment.
While Chen Ge was searching, the sound of a door opening came from downstairs. The sound was very abrupt in the quiet corridor. The steel door was slowly pushed open, and 2 footsteps appeared in the corridor.
Someone is going up. Chen Ge's heart skipped a beat. The sound of the door opening came from around the 14th or 15th floor. Are the neighbors chasing after me? The footsteps were urgent, and they quickly approached the top floor. It felt like they were forcing Chen Ge to open his eyes and end the mission.
The sound has reached the 16th floor. Chen Ge's forehead was covered in sweat. He leaned against the wall, and his heart was anxious.
Should I open my eyes? Theoretically speaking, I've already reached the top floor, and I haven't found the stairs that lead me up.
When he hesitated, the footsteps had reached the 17th floor. Chen Ge stood in the corner. He faced the stairwell, and his eyes were still closed.
The footsteps picked up speed. They appeared at the corner between the 17th and 18th floor. In other words, they had already seen Chen Ge.
I've been discovered, but the footsteps haven't stopped. Their target shouldn't be me. The familiar child's laughter echoed in his ears. Soon, the footsteps passed Chen Ge, and then one of the doors on the 18th floor was opened. The wind blew on Chen Ge's face, and the exhaustion slowly dissipated like the thing that was lying on him had left him.
Is it over? He wanted to open his eyes, but he could still hear the footsteps and the child's laughter.
The laughter gave him an indescribable feeling. He could not feel the joy from it. It was hollow, and it was just a laugh. Feeling his way to the open door, Chen Ge stood at the door, and a child's voice came from the other side. Uncle, I had another dream. In the dream, there was a blood-red city floating in the Black Sea. The people who came and went in the city held knives. They cut off their own bodies and buried all their memories. Uncle, the memory appears because of people to be, but people have forgotten about be to be to be.
Uncle, are you listening to me? The child's voice was right before Chen Ge. In fact, Chen Ge had a feeling that the child was talking to him. He was about to say something when a strange man's voice appeared.
I'm listening. The man's voice was emotionless and cold like a machine. The memory will not be angry. When it appears, it is destined to be forgotten. That is the end of the memory. Destined to be forgotten. Yes, just like you. After the man said that, the child laughed again. Why do you like to laugh so much? There was a trace of annoyance in the man's voice. Because I'm happy. My dad told me that everything I see is a nightmare. Those horrible things are all dreams, and they will disappear after I wake up. Shouldn't I be happy about that? The child's voice was innocent. Nightmare. The man's tone turned even colder. If one day, you realize that those are not nightmares and everything you see in your dreams is real, will you still be able to laugh? I don't know. Perhaps. Then if you realize that one day, you have been forgotten in that blood-red city and will never be able to return, will you still be able to laugh like this?
You definitely won't be able to smile anymore. You will curse madly. Just like the memories that have been abandoned by their master. You will be wrapped in negative emotions and sink deeper and deeper into that black ocean. There was a trace of excitement in the man's voice. His cold tone hit a slightly twisted soul.
No, I won't. The child's childish voice contained a maturity that did not match his age. He seemed to think about it for a long time before he continued. If one day, I am really forgotten in the nightmare, I will draw many windows on that black ocean and push open many doors in that blood-red city. I will let all the eyes that are used to the darkness see light. When the boy said the last word, Chen Ge suddenly felt that the sentence was very familiar, like he had said it before. His eyelids twitched, and Chen Ge subconsciously took a step forward. Out of instinct, he wanted to grab hold of the voice. Where there is light, there must be darkness. If you want the darkness to see light, then the light will be dimmed. The man appeared to have grabbed hold of the child. Let go of me. The one who should let go is you. Do not come back. Let go. Help. Help. Quote. You will eventually be forgotten, so don't worry, go to hell. When the man said that, Chen Ge's body was frozen, and a voice was screaming inside his heart. Help. His closed eyes flew open. Chen Ge saw at the edge of the building, there was a doctor in a white coat who was pushing his young self down from the roof. He rushed to the edge of the building, but when he reached his hand out, everything disappeared.
All the energy in his body was drained. Chen Ge collapsed at the edge of the building. His clothes were soaked in cold sweat.
When I was doing that nightmare mission at the tunnel, I saw my young self being killed. This is the second time. The killer's back is almost the same, so it should be the same person. He is wearing a doctor's uniform, so he is probably the doctor from Shanghai, but why would he want to kill me? What is the meaning of their conversation? Quote.
His head was splitting. After closing his eyes for so long, Chen Ge was still not used to it.
He curled up against the wall and rubbed his eyes. When his vision returned to normal, he turned to his side and tried to grab the white cat. But when he turned his head halfway, his body froze.
Two thin arms were placed before his face, and the shirt that was as red as blood almost touched the tip of Chen Ge's nose.
A red specter was clinging to Chen Ge's shoulder and leaning on his back.
The half-open door at Zhongyuan Apartments was left behind by you, right? A child's voice came from behind Chen Ge. I don't remember. It was not until then that Chen Ge saw the white cat that was about to cry on his shoulder. The cat did not dare move. Those who did not know might have thought it was a specimen.
The white cat had been there, but it did not warn him. This meant that the red specter had probably appeared when he closed his eyes.
The white cat was lying on his left shoulder, so perhaps he was lying on his right shoulder? With his scalp numb, Chen Ge did not dare turn around. His mind was spinning, and he was afraid that he would say something taboo and be silenced by the man. I'm not sure what you're talking about. 20 years ago, there was a door that was about to be pushed open at Zhongyuan Apartments. No one knew its location. They only knew that it was inside this residential area. Later, the residential area was rebuilt, but the door was still open. Negative emotions leaked out from the door, attracting the ghosts and spirits that passed by. The poor people that you ran into earlier were gathered here because of that door, and it was also because of that door that I was lucky enough to become a red specter. If that's what you're saying, then that door might really be related to me. Chen Ge carefully answered. I've forgotten many things, so there are many things that I can't confirm. If you can give me some more hints, perhaps I might be able to remember something. It was a door that was half pushed open. This was the first time I've seen a door like that. It was like when a person was about to push open the door in despair, they suddenly found salvation. The thin hand slowly tightened its grip, and the red specter's voice echoed in Chen Ge's ears. Only when a person is in the deepest despair will they be able to push open the door. Despair that can be saved is not the deepest despair.
Chen Ge memorized every single word that the red specter said. He might not understand these things now, but as he investigated deeper, perhaps he would eventually understand the deeper meaning behind them.
I really can't remember anything. Have you been through that door before? What's inside the door? Chen Ge started to ask questions. Perhaps because he had met too many red specters, the fear in his heart soon disappeared, and in its place was a feeling of conversing with someone he knew. You want to know what's inside the door? The thin hand pressed on Chen Ge's neck. Haven't you already seen it? Me? Seen it? Chen Ge's eyes widened. The 14th floor? Is the gate my former home? That's right. It used to be your home, but now it's my home. The skinny fingers were like knives, sinking into Chen Ge's neck. I helped you open the door, but I couldn't become the door pusher. I thought about it for a long time before I realized that perhaps it was because the real door pusher was still alive. Only by killing the door pusher could I truly control the door.
Calm down first. I just thought about it. I actually have nothing to do with that door. Really, how could a cheerful and easygoing person like me, who loves life so much, be so desperate to open the door? Quote. But when you appeared, the door opened on its own, and a voice that I have never heard before came from behind the door. The red specter's grip tightened.
Fine, I can't deny the connection between me and that door, but I really wasn't the one who opened that door. If you want to find the door pusher, I can help you. Chen Ge pointed at the edge of the building. You should have seen it for yourself. The boy who was pushed down the stairs is the real door pusher. I'm also looking for him.
You can't lie to me. The scenario behind the door is weaved from the door pusher's memory. The voice that you heard on the 14th floor and the scene that you saw on the rooftop are all things from the deepest part of your memory. They are all your own memories, and that is why you are so deeply immersed in them. The red specter's careless words enlightened Chen Ge. A flash of light appeared in his mind. Memory. Things that should have been forgotten had been accidentally preserved through the door. Even though those scenes were despairing, they were indeed memories. I think I understand something now. Chen Ge's pupils slowly narrowed. The blood-red city contains many scenarios, and each scenario was pushed open by the door pusher. These scenarios are weaved from the door pusher's despairing memory. Earlier, when I was young, I said this: memories appear because of people, but people have forgotten them. Will the memories be angry? Human, ghost, memory, lingering spirit.
Have you finished your last words? Wait a minute. Hearing the red specter's voice, Chen Ge was like a cat that had its feet stepped on. You saw the scenario earlier. Memory cannot be faked. The real door pusher was pushed down from the rooftop by the doctor. He's already dead. The reason you haven't become the door pusher is probably because his lingering spirit hasn't completely dissipated. Chen Ge had a point, but it was hard to convince the red specter. I know it's pointless no matter what I say, and I won't make any empty promises. I just hope that you can give me a few days, and I will help you find the real door pusher.
The red specter behind him did not say anything, so Chen Ge quickly added, if you think a few days is too long, how about we make it 24 hours? I need to go home to confirm some things. If you are still worried, you can come with me. You can stand in my shadow and keep an eye on me. My life is in your hands. Quote. The pain on his neck weakened slightly. The red specter seemed to be tempted, but he did not say anything. After several minutes of silence, Chen Ge appeared to have given up. He raised his hand silently. Fine, looks like you are not willing to let me go. Then, can I make one last small request? Speak. Give me a few minutes. I want to make a call to the police. I promised the girl in the stairwell that I would help her find the killer. Now, I can't do that, but at least I need to give her hope and not let her suffer alone in the cold. Chen Ge slowly took out his phone, but the red specter behind him did not say anything. After a long time, the hand on his neck loosened. 3 days. 3 days later, at 2 a.m., I will wait for you on the 14th floor.
The pressure slowly disappeared. The iron door that led to the rooftop was slammed shut, and everything returned to normal.
Plop. Chen Ge did not move from where he was. The white cat on his shoulder was the first to give in. Probably because it had been in the same position for too long, the white cat jumped unnaturally to the ground. Its body was frozen, and it limped as it walked. It took some time before it returned to normal. Seeing that the white cat dared to move, Chen Ge sighed in relief. He leaned against the wall and sat on the ground. You're such a coward. The specter is already crawling on my shoulder. At least give me a nudge to remind me. Quote. Meow. When the white cat saw Chen Ge, it was also angered. It circled around him and meowed like it was saying, why don't you try walking shoulder to shoulder with a red specter? The man and the cat played for a while, and Chen Ge had recovered some energy. He put on his jacket again and hugged the white cat as he curled up in the corner of the rooftop. It was impossible to go back the way they came, and taking the elevator would leave a psychological scar, so Chen Ge decided to wait for the sun to come down. I've been so scared tonight. After the sun rises, I need to go to the futuristic theme park to relax. The sky started to brighten, and the first ray of sunlight appeared on the horizon. Finally, it's morning. Hugging the white cat, Chen Ge entered the stairwell again. There was no one in the empty stairwell, and it looked scary. I can't believe I was able to walk up here blindfolded last night.
After sighing, Chen Ge entered the stairwell and took the elevator to leave Zhongyuan Apartments. At the same time, he received the mission completion notification from the black phone.
Congratulations, Spectre's favored. Congratulations for completing the nightmare mission, neighbor. You've gained a new talent, Spirit Sniff. Yin-Yang Vision allows you to see the color of your dreams. Ghost Ear allows you to hear the voice of your memory. Spirit Sniff allows you to smell emotions. Mortician's Makeup allows you to disguise as a withered soul. And Living Doll allows you to create the body of a yin god. Now, you're missing one last ability. Hurry up and unlock the mission. Hopefully, you'll know the answer before you die. After completing the nightmare mission, the black phone had given Chen Ge another ability. The name seemed to be related to his sense of smell. Chen Ge touched his nose, but he did not notice any difference from before. The only difference was that his ability to distinguish between scents had improved. Will different emotions give off different scents? Chen Ge sniffed at the white cat, but the cat pushed him away with disdain. He did not mind it. He put the black phone away and took out his own phone. Hello. Is this Eastern Zhujiang Police Station? I want to call the police. There's a murder at Zhongyuan Apartments. Quote. Yes, it should be a female body, and the body was probably hidden inside the freezer. I suggest you investigate the tenants who haven't lived here before but still consume a lot of electricity every month.
How do I know that? If I told you that the female body told me that herself, you wouldn't believe me, would you? He hailed a cab to return to New Century Park. Chen Ge did not sleep the whole night, but he did not feel sleepy. He looked at the time and started to prepare. For my haunted house to operate normally, I can't take too many employees with me. I need to leave a few old employees to maintain order. Pushing open the door that led underground, Chen Ge carried his backpack and entered. Other than bye, I have to take all the other red specters with me. If anything goes wrong, the remaining specters won't be able to deal with them. With the help of the phone spirit, Chen Ge placed the red high heels and the recorder inside his backpack. Then, he had Foul Odor and the Headless Woman enter Yandanian's comic. The Headless Woman has improved a lot, but she's still too honest. Perhaps Zhongya scared her that time. This won't do. She has to learn to be flexible in the future. Quote. All red specters have big problems with their personalities. This is a good chance for us to relax. Hopefully, through this event, I can help them establish the correct team concept. That way, I can leave them at the haunted house without worry in the future. Quote. When he flipped through the comic to check the candidates, Chen Ge's eyes lit up. He saw a figure that he had almost forgotten, Chume. Before entering the School of the Afterlife, Chen Ge had accepted a mission to visit a dead people's theater. It was there that he met Chong Ji-yu, and it was there that he found out about the baleful specter, Chiume. This half-red specter was a sacrifice in Chong Wenyu's plan.
She had suffered a tragedy and had her left eye gouged out. To make matters worse, she still did not know the truth.
When Chen Ge wakes up, I need to bring Chume to have a good chat with him.
Chiume was just a half-red specter, but her power was unique. When she possessed Changgu's movie, she had displayed power that rivaled a red specter. Oh well, I'll bring her with me. Her power should come in handy at the futuristic theme park. Chen Ge handed the management over to Dr. Wei and left by behind to ensure that there would be no problems before he walked out from the underground scenario. After placing the backpack in the staff break room, Chen Ge lay in bed to rest. When all the employees returned, he gave them a few simple instructions.
Today, I'll go to the futuristic theme park to study. Stay here and look after the place. If there are no accidents, I should be back by noon. After putting on the makeup for all the employees, Chen Ge just exited the haunted house when he was stopped by Director Luo.
Chen Ge, don't be in such a hurry to go. Quote, what's wrong? I've received news that the futuristic theme park is planning to pull some dirty tricks. Other than that, their haunted house is not a traditional physical haunted house. They've combined many new technologies, so you have to be careful. Director Luo was still worried. How about I call a few people to go with you? I'm worried about you going alone.
It'll be fine. I've made many preparations, and the theme park is currently lacking manpower. There's no need to disrupt everyone's plans because of me. Chen Ge waved the backpack in his hands. I'll be going now. After dealing with everything, Chen Ge hailed a cab to head to Eastern Zhejiang's futuristic theme park. He had taken the route from Western Zhejiang to Eastern Zhejiang the night before, and it already felt familiar.
The futuristic theme park was built at the busiest part of Eastern Zhejiang. It was next to two large rivers, and across the river was Shanghai. Once the bridge was completed, the futuristic theme park's location would become the prime location between the two cities.
They sure know how to pick their location. The futuristic theme park's location was not as good as New Century Park's, but that might change in the future.
Narrowing his eyes, the outline of the futuristic theme park appeared in Chen Ge's sight. It looked like a futuristic city with a sense of art.
Even from afar, he could hear the commotion coming from the theme park. It was clear that the futuristic theme park was very popular.
The futuristic theme park is quite impressive. It'll be hard to resist the pressure that they bring. When he really arrived at the futuristic theme park, Chen Ge finally understood how powerful his opponent was. No wonder they don't take New Century Park seriously. The parking lot was full, and people were everywhere. Many tour groups brought visitors from other places to play. The futuristic theme park had its own system, and their customers were not limited to Zhejiang and the surrounding cities. Arriving at the entrance of the theme park alone, Chen Ge was not as flamboyant as Lu Gang, but sometimes, people could not keep a low profile even if they wanted to. He used his ID to go to the self-service ticket machine to buy the ticket. The ticket here was fully automated, and everyone was queuing up. But just as he pressed his ID on the machine that was supposed to be working suddenly lit up with a red light, and then 3 park workers ran toward him at the same time. The machine is malfunctioning. What's the meaning of this? You've caught the fugitive. Quote. Chen Ge himself was confused. After the 3 came over, they surrounded Chen Ge. One of them had a professional fake smile on his face. Mr. Chen Ge, you've made us wait for so long. The reincarnation-themed scenario is ready. You can just come with us.
Okay. Chen Ge did not want to buy the ticket. After looking at the ticket information, he realized that the ticket price for the futuristic theme park was 1.5 times that of New Century Park.
Entering the futuristic theme park through the workers' tunnel, many strange-looking theme parks appeared before his eyes. Together, they formed this futuristic city. The reincarnation theme building is at the innermost part of the building. Our people have already set it up. The 3 workers led Chen Ge through the crowd and arrived at the futuristic theme park's haunted house, a building with the theme of reincarnation. When Chen Ge arrived, the building was filled with people, but most of them were workers. They all looked like they were about to face their greatest enemy, but probably because they did not expect Chen Ge to come alone, all the workers felt like they had landed a punch on cotton. Hello, I am one of the designers for the reincarnation theme building. You can call me Qing Ming. A man in his 30s walked over from the entrance. How many designers do you have for this scenario? The man lying in the hospital seems to be one of your designers. Chen Ge's words caused the workers to feel very awkward. Bai Buhui is also one of the designers. Our scenario uses reincarnation as the theme. It combines many ghost stories and scary movies to create many independent worlds, but it cleverly connects them together through reincarnation. Qing Ming was very proud of himself. Bai Buhui is one of the designers.
I haven't even started the live stream. You don't have to introduce me like that. Chen Ge patted Qing Ming's shoulder. Brother, I'll wait here in line. You go do what you need to do, don't mind me. I'm here today to accompany you. By the way, do you have any friends who are not here yet? Qing Ming asked with some hesitation. He did not believe that Chen Ge would dare to challenge the place alone.
Don't worry, it's just me. Chen Ge then took out his phone and opened his livestream. Ever since his livestream was banned, he had not live-streamed for a long time. Once the livestream started, before Chen Ge could say anything, the chat started to flood. The most annoying thing was that people were spamming Brother Gang for being a real man. In just a few minutes, the number of online viewers had exceeded 50,000, and the number was still climbing. Hello, everyone. Yesterday, I promised everyone that I would challenge the futuristic theme park's haunted house alone, and now I am at the futuristic theme park. Chen Ge aimed the camera at the reincarnation theme building. To be honest, I was quite nervous to challenge the haunted house alone. Liu Gang and the rest challenged it together, and in the end, they were all sent to the hospital. I am alone, and I have to face this scenario alone. Quote.
Hearing Chen Ge's words, Qing Ming felt that something was amiss. Liu Gang and the others had all fainted from fright when they visited. Chen Ge had come alone, and even he had fainted from fright. In the end, it felt like Chen Ge was more powerful.
Too cunning. Qing Ming was so angry that the roots of his teeth were itching, but there was nothing he could do about Chen Ge. He could only smile apologetically at the side to show that he was very generous. This person next to me is one of the workers from the futuristic theme park. He is also one of the designers of their haunted house. Speaking of which, I am quite concerned about his colleague. I wonder if he has woken up at the hospital. After all, this happened at our New Century Park, so I have to take responsibility. Before Chen Ge could finish, Qing Ming quickly cut him off. Mr. Chen, we're ready. We can start the tour now. Qing Ming was really afraid of Chen Ge's sharp tongue. If he allowed the man to continue, the futuristic theme park would definitely become a laughing stock. So soon, Chen Ge followed Qing Ming through the crowd and arrived at the entrance of the venue.
There was a large screen on the wall outside the reincarnation scenario, and the images shown on the left and right sides of the screen were different.
Chen Ge was watching it when an argument came from the crowd of visitors. A few young people were yelling loudly, "Why doesn't he need to wait in line? We even paid extra to buy the ticket. You guys are too much." Quote. I'm sorry, I'll go take a look. Qing Ming ran over and discussed with the young people for a while before he returned. Mr. Chen, I'm so sorry. Initially, we wanted you to go in alone to challenge the place, but the few visitors refused. Do you mind letting them go with you? With more people, it'll reduce the sense of fear. Quote. Reduce the sense of fear. Chen Ge stared at the faces of the few young people, and his lips curled up. The time they came to cause trouble was very coincidental, like they had planned it beforehand. This should be a show arranged by the futuristic theme park, and the few visitors should be the theme park's employees in disguise. Their acting is really bad, but that's fine. The more the merrier. The fact that Chen Ge said that meant that he had already noticed it. Qing Ming's expression froze, and he had no choice but to act dumb. Then I'll go and tell them to prepare. Chen Ge ignored Qing Ming and turned to the livestream. Many people on the internet had noticed this, and they were reminding Chen Ge.
It's fine. This will be a good comparison. 10 seconds later, 3 men and 3 women walked out from the crowd. Alright, now that everyone is here, I'll briefly introduce the rules of the game. Qing Ming pointed at the large screen outside the venue. Our reincarnation haunted house uses the technology of combining virtual and reality to recreate many ghost stories and horror movies. This is a world of ghosts, a man-made reincarnation nightmare. You'll be able to see many classic scenes from horror movies and experience the most realistic thrill.
Some of the ghosts inside the scenario are played by the employees, and some are projections, but there are some that you'll have to be careful of.
To maximize the sense of horror, we've placed some old objects that are originally related to ghost stories into the scenario. If you feel anything wrong, you have to scream for help. I'm not joking with you. Qing Ming's tone was serious, and he purposely turned to look at Chen Ge. Do not force yourself. Safety first.
Patting his backpack, Chen Ge's expression was serious. You've successfully made me excited.
Our scenario is controlled by the central computer, and the difficulty is split into 4 levels: easy, normal, hard, and hellish. You'll get 1 point for clearing an easy scenario, 5 points for a normal scenario, 20 points for a hard scenario, and 100 points for clearing a hellish scenario. The screen outside will show the ranking. Currently, the person at the top is a haunted house fan from our theme park. He has cleared 2 difficult scenarios and several normal scenarios. In total, he has accumulated 105 points. The higher the points, the higher the ranking. It was as if Qing Ming was purposely luring Chen Ge to choose the hellish scenario. So, the hellish scenario is the hardest. Chen Ge looked at Qing Ming. Ever since our scenario was built, no one has been able to clear the hellish scenario. Theoretically, this is the hardest scenario. But, Qing Ming paused before continuing. There is another way to increase the difficulty, and that is to challenge 2 hellish scenarios at the same time. Since the scenario is controlled by the central computer, if you choose 2 scenarios at the same time, the ghosts from both scenarios will appear.
You can do that. Theoretically, it's possible. For example, if you combine Ring and Juan, you might be ambushed from behind by the female ghost in Juan while you're answering the call from the ghost. The density of ghosts will be very high. Qing Ming was just showing off the scary side of his haunted house. He did not think that Chen Ge would go through the trouble of challenging the hellish scenario. First, sign the disclaimer and then create your own personal account. Finally, you can choose the difficulty. I will bring you into the scenario. Qing Ming signaled for Chen Ge to come to the control panel. The disclaimer from the futuristic theme park was signed using fingerprints and facial recognition, so it was more formal than the handwritten signature at Chen Ge's haunted house. After signing the disclaimer, Chen Ge started to create his personal account. Considering that the ranking would appear on the big screen outside the haunted house, he did not hesitate to change his username to New Century Park.
This can be considered a form of promotion. He had just entered those few words when the system prompted him that there was a sensitive term. Chen Ge was quite speechless. The futuristic theme park had considered such a tricky angle.
After several tries, Chen Ge finally chose his real name, Chen Ge. Then, it was time to choose the difficulty. The other visitors and Qing Ming all turned to look at Chen Ge. Do I have to choose? Chen Ge pointed at the other visitors next to him. Are they going to enter the same scenario as me?
Yes, the same batch of visitors will enter the same scenario, Qing Ming explained patiently.
Hearing that, Chen Ge turned to the few visitors. Are you sure you want to come with me? How about you wait for the next batch? Quote. Who are you looking down on? Why are you pretending? He's such a funny man. The other visitors insisted on following, so there was nothing Chen Ge could do. He opened the difficulty selection page and slid directly to the hellish scenario. How do I combine 2 scenarios? This was the first time that Chen Ge had seen such a high-end control panel. First, click on the hellish difficulty at the bottom of the page, and then tick the scenario that you wish to combine on the page for the hellish difficulty. After that, click confirm. When Qing Ming saw that Chen Ge was going to challenge the hellish scenario, a smile finally appeared on his face.
Got it. Chen Ge selected the hellish difficulty first and then put his phone away. His fingers moved like he was playing the piano, and he ticked off all the 40 scenarios on the page.
Wait a minute. Qing Ming wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. Chen Ge had already pressed the confirm button. At that moment, the operating system started to lag, probably because the central computer had to deal with too much data. The lights in the hall dimmed for a moment.
Have you lost your mind? Qing Ming quickly ran to the control panel.
How am I crazy? You didn't tell me that I can't combine 40 scenarios at the same time. Chen Ge then nudged the visitors next to him lightly. Am I right? He didn't say that earlier. Quote. Seeing the 40-plus horror movies, ghost stories, and scary scenarios merged together on the screen, the few visitors' faces were ashen, but Chen Ge acted like nothing had happened. He took out his phone and started the livestream again. Honestly, I also didn't expect your control panel to suddenly jam. Did your designer not consider this kind of situation? Isn't that too unprofessional? Quote. The central computer had to deal with too much data at once, and it caused the control system to lag. This was something that no one expected. When you came to challenge my haunted house, I served you with a smile and tried my best to explain the situation. Now that I'm here to challenge you, the machine broke before I even started, and your designer even pushed me. Chen Ge pointed at Qing Ming, who was standing next to the control panel. I'm not the kind of person to hold grudges, so I won't argue with you over small things like this. I just want to ask, when will you be done? As Chen Ge made sarcastic remarks, he walked around with his phone like he was back at home. This angered the workers from the futuristic theme park.
Isn't this all your fault? One of the visitors who wanted to enter with Chen Ge said coldly with a dark face.
How can you blame me for that? Chen Ge grabbed one of the workers next to him and pointed the camera at him. Brother, from the perspective of the futuristic theme park, can you blame me for what happened earlier? Don't feel pressured. Just say what's on your mind before hundreds of thousands of netizens. Quote. Indeed, it's not your fault. Our theme park did not think this through. Please wait for a moment, Mr. Chen. The worker seemed to be worried that he would lose control of his expression, so he forced himself to finish before running away. Chen Ge wanted to say something else, but he realized that the workers from the futuristic theme park would leave whenever they saw him. They did not even look Chen Ge in the eye. The lights in the hall kept flickering, and the control panel was still not working. It said that the data was being loaded. Visitors ran out from all three entrances, and the workers from the futuristic theme park kept apologizing. It's still merging the scenarios. You'll have to wait for a while. Qing Ming's expression was pale. He took out 7 black watches from the service counter. I'll make use of this time to explain the rules to you. He gave each of the black watches to each visitor. These watches can display your heart rate and body temperature. When your heart rate goes over a certain threshold, our people will bring you out, so no matter what happens, do not take off the watch. Enter the account that you've just created, and you'll be able to activate the watch. Each activation will randomly generate a job, and different jobs have different powers. Using your power wisely will help you complete the mission easier.
After Qing Ming said that, the few visitors activated their watches.
My profession is detective. A bespectacled man looked at his wristwatch. Whenever we enter a new scenario, the wristwatch will send me a message, telling me the location of a clue in the scenario. I'm a doctor. If my teammate's heart rate is over the limit, I can use my own power to prevent him from being forcibly taken away by the staff. This power can only be used once. It's very helpful in clearing the game, but it's a little dangerous. Behind the bespectacled man stood a woman with long black hair. She looked like an office worker. When the other visitors talked to the woman, they subconsciously lowered their eyes like they were afraid of her. I'm also a doctor. What a coincidence, me too. The 3 female visitors were all doctors. When Chen Ge saw that, he understood that the so-called random occupations might have been arranged beforehand. The doctor's ability could be used on his teammates. If he was scared to the point of breaking down, the staff would not come over with the doctor around. They wanted to scare me 3 times. Chen Ge lowered his head to look at his occupation, and his action was noticed by the other visitors. Hey, what's your occupation? The bespectacled man was curious. Me. Chen Ge did not purposely try to hide it. He openly showed them his watch. My occupation is a volunteer. I don't have any power. There's only one sentence written on it: I like to help those who are in trouble and the weak. I'm very spontaneous and have a side job. Volunteer. There's such a profession. A man who was dressed fashionably laughed. My occupation is a police officer. When a murderer or a madman approaches, my watch will receive the warning beforehand. Friend, you have to be careful. I've seen similar scenes in many horror movies. A volunteer goes to help others alone in an eerie old house, but in the end, he is killed by the monsters hiding inside the old house. Usually, the volunteer is the first to die, the man who stood at the back said. The man standing at the back said. He didn't look very old and seemed to be still in school. However, this person was a bit scheming. He didn't reveal his occupation. Thank you for your concern. Most of the main characters in horror movies were police officers, detectives, and doctors. Volunteers were just minor characters, but Chen Ge did not mind that. He did not follow the rules. If he was ostracized by the visitors, he would join the enemy, and then it would not be as simple as increasing the difficulty.
You don't seem to be worried. The woman with the long black hair seemed to hate Chen Ge's personality. I followed the bet between you and Liu Gang online. You're prepared to faint, aren't you? That's why you chose to come alone and challenge the highest difficulty. Do you think you won't lose so badly by doing that? I didn't expect you to be able to see through my careful planning. I'm so scared. Chen Ge was too lazy to argue. He walked to Qingming. I'm live streaming now, and in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers. I wish to confirm with you. What conditions do I need to complete to clear this scenario?
There is a main mission in a normal scenario, but after 40 scenarios are combined, the previous mission cannot be completed. Therefore, as long as you can find the hidden exit within 60 minutes, you've cleared the scenario. With hundreds of thousands of viewers as witness, Qingming did not dare lie. I only need to find the exit. No matter what method I use, it'll be fine. Chen Ge lowered his head to arrange his backpack. Of course, our futuristic theme park's haunted house uses the most advanced technology, combining reality and virtual to create a scary world. As long as you don't harm the employees or other visitors, you can do anything you want. Qingming still wanted to promote his haunted house in Chen Ge's livestream, so he did not notice the scary gaze from Chen Ge. That's what you said. Noticing the change in Chen Ge's tone, Qingming was about to add something when the main control panel suddenly made a noise, and 4/5 of the lights inside the reincarnation hall went off. The scenario has been generated. Qingming signaled for everyone to gather around him. Check your wristbands one last time. I'll bring you into the scenario now. He entered the reincarnation hall and pushed open a door. There was a row of seats inside. Please take your seat and put on your seatbelt. There was no light behind the door, so it was very dark. You're live streaming, so remember to hold your phone tight. After Qingming checked everyone's seatbelt, he walked out of the scenario and slammed the door shut. Everything was dark, and they could not see anything. The few visitors heard the sound of crying. Just as they tried to determine the source of the crying, the row of seats started to move.
Trying to mess up my sense of direction? The row of seats moved downward and only stopped after 10 seconds.
The scenario is underground. With his feet on the ground, Chen Ge felt much better. Moments later, light appeared before his eyes.
Then he looked around. The few visitors appeared to be sitting inside a mini-movie theater, and before them was a large screen. Are you guys alright? Can you remove your seatbelts now?
Does anyone smell something weird? When the visitors were conversing, the screen in the theater started to play the movie.
There were 7 main characters, and just like the 7 visitors, they sat in the first row of the theater.
The 7 people on the screen were facing away from the visitors, and the 7 people were also watching the screen. At that moment, the screen in the middle of the screen started to play a video.
On the day of Soul's return, 7 best friends came to the theater to watch a movie. They did this to pay their respects to their teacher. The respected teacher's favorite movie happened to be playing on Soul's return.
When the movie started, they didn't notice anything strange, but slowly, they realized something was off. There are always strange shadows flashing across the screen, and occasionally, you can hear strange cries. One of the students went to the bathroom during the movie, but he didn't come back for a long time. When one of them went to look for him, he realized that there were still 7 people sitting in the theater. Everyone panicked. They removed their seatbelts, left their seats, and ran out in a hurry, but they didn't know what was waiting for them outside the door was an even more despairing scenario. The screen on the screen stopped at that point. The 7 visitors on the screen started to whisper among themselves, and they seemed to think that the video was very interesting. Have you seen a movie with something like this before? Is this a plot from a horror movie? The man with the glasses asked softly. I can't think of that yet. The youngest man shook his head. Even if the plot is similar, we can't just use the method in the movie to solve it. Don't forget, thanks to a certain someone, we're going to face the combined version of 40 scenarios. Quote. Then, what should we do now? We should wait. There might be more hints. The visitors around Chen Ge started to discuss, but only Chen Ge did not say anything. He listened to the discussion while his eyes stared at the screen. He realized that the scene on the screen was similar to what was happening in real life. The visitors started to discuss after watching the movie. The combination of 40 hellish scenarios should have a lot of scare points. Chen Ge thought back to the scene in the movie. It mentioned that everyone removed their seatbelts and ran out in a hurry. That should be the next step, right? We can't stay here for long. We have to leave quickly. Quote. Unbuckling his seat belt, Chen Ge was the first to stand up from his seat. Everyone, it's time to go. What's the rush? The first scenario is the easiest. If we don't get more information here, it'll be harder to move forward. The fashionably dressed man turned to look at the other visitors. Each of us has a limit to the number of times we can use our powers, so I suggest we gather together to help each other. How about this, everyone introduce yourselves first so that we can plan and make arrangements in advance. Quote. Without waiting for the man to finish, Chen Ge had already begun to look for an exit in the cinema.
Hey, why are you so unsociable? Everyone is introducing themselves. You're also part of this team.
I'm not interested in dead people's names. Chen Ge had yin-yang vision, so the darkness did not affect him at all. He looked around and suddenly realized that the people on the screen had stopped talking, and there was the sound of crying coming from the screen. Watch your mouth. Who did you say? Shut up and look at the screen. Chen Ge pointed at the screen, and the people on the screen started to panic. Then they seemed to discover something very scary, and they slowly turned their heads around.
With Chen Ge's reminder, the visitors in theater also turned to look at the screen. They stared closely at the faces on the screen until the people's faces completely turned around.
The faces of the 7 people on the screen were filled with holes. Their facial features had been gouged out, and they were all bleeding.
One of the female visitors clamped her hand over her mouth. This was too sudden. Before they could react, the 7 monsters on the screen suddenly stood up and then leapt out from the screen. Ah! The screams of the visitors echoed in theater. Chen Ge's eyes widened. With the help of various technology, the scene earlier was very realistic, and the 7 projections looked like they were real. Interesting. The few visitors were scared out of their wits. Even they did not expect this to happen. The futuristic theme park's haunted house is controlled by the central computer. Their employees can receive various kinds of help from inside, but they probably have no idea what will happen next. After all, this is made up of 40 scenarios. Even the designers did not consider this. Chen Ge observed the other visitors and realized that they were not wearing earphones, so they could not keep in contact with the people outside. They wanted to trick me, but I dragged them down to hell with me. Chen Ge smiled. He decided to make good use of these 6 visitors. With a dry cough, Chen Ge turned to look at the other people in the room. I told you to leave already, but you refused to listen. These 7 projections are just the beginning. If you looked closely at the story earlier, you should know that there are at least 2 more ghosts in theater. 2 more. One is the teacher who likes to watch movies in the story, so he is probably the extra person in theater at the end. The other is the ghost that has been following us since we sat in the chairs. She should like to cry. As long as the sound of crying is still there, it means that she has not gone far. Chen Ge's analysis confused the visitors. They had all come in chairs, and they had only been in the scenario for less than 3 minutes, so how did he manage to see so many things?
Stop wasting time, let's find the exit. As Chen Ge turned around, he saw an extra shadow on the chair behind him. He was curled up behind the chair like he was preparing something. The lighting in theater was very dim. If not for Chen Ge's yin-yang vision, he would not have been able to see the person. At the same time, the crying from the big screen became clearer until it sounded like it was ringing in their ears. The few visitors panicked and quickly stood up to look for the exit. As long as you can help me find the exit, it will save me a lot of time. This way, I'll have more time to explore more scenarios.
Chen Ge moved around the spot where the shadow was hiding before moving in another direction. This gave the actors the impression that he was very lucky.
With the merging of 40 scenarios, no one knows what will happen next. I can use this to my advantage. I can use my employees to disguise themselves as unknown projections to follow the haunted house workers, or I can act as the haunted house workers to chase after the visitors. Chen Ge scanned the walls of theater. They were covered with posters from different scary movies like Saw Murderer, Dr. Skullcracker, and Jack the Ripper.
Volunteer work suits me, but it's best to treat it as a part-time job. The ghost shadows flickered on the screen, and the crying had moved from the screen to the outside like it was hiding among the crowd. The already weak lights started to flicker, the seats shook, and the ground started to spin. A girl's laughter came from the speakers on the wall. The woman's sobbing, the little girl's creepy laughter, and the worker hiding behind the chair. In this theoretically simple scenario, there were 3 ghosts hidden in it. We should leave now. Chen Ge moved his gaze away from the movie poster. He had already planned his future career in his mind.
No. The man who became a police officer rejected Chen Ge's suggestion again. His forehead was covered in sweat, and it was obvious that he was afraid as well. The ghosts will be here soon. Do you want to stay and die? Chen Ge was not being kind. He just thought it would be more fun to bring these people with him during the livestream. Other than that, he could use them to scout ahead and speed up the raid. I came here yesterday when the theme park first opened. That time, it was on the medium difficulty. The fashionably dressed man ignored the hints from the others and said directly, "This theater is the first level. It's a moderately difficult theater. It's just a place to introduce the visitors to the things to take note of and explain the background of the story. There are 2 scares. One is the chair that shakes on its own, and the other is the extra, teacher, hiding among us."
Go on. Chen Ge saw that the man did not look like he was lying, and he also wanted to know what the man was trying to say.
But this time, not only did we not receive the background introduction and the rules, we didn't even receive the most basic warning about the safety of the scenario. Furthermore, when I came here last time, I didn't run into the 7 ghosts, the crying, and the laughter. Therefore, I suggest we stay here for now. After we get to the bottom of this, we can move on to the next scenario. After all, the first scenario is the easiest of all the scenarios. The man had visited the place before. To be more precise, he was supposed to be the tour guide among the visitors. He was familiar with the locations and decorations of the scare points, but the situation that they were facing now did not match up with the scare points that he knew beforehand. It's all his fault. He combined 40 scenarios at once. The danger level has increased by 40 times, a girl who looked rather petite pointed at Chen Ge as she commented. I wanted to challenge alone, but you guys are the ones who are shamelessly following me, right? Chen Ge did not even turn his head. He had already found the way out. Next to the screen in the theater were 2 pieces of black cloth. Through the gap between the black cloth, one could vaguely see a doorknob. Now is not the time to discuss this. The youngest boy walked to stand between Chen Ge and the other visitors. Let's vote.
While the few visitors were talking, the woman with long black hair had already taken out her phone. She seemed to be contacting someone.
The combination of 40 scenarios increased the difficulty to an unbelievable level. Even they were afraid. The few visitors chatted animatedly. Chen Ge ignored them and walked toward the black cloth next to the screen alone. If the workers hiding behind the seats want to come over, they will be blocked by the visitors first. Even though the few visitors are not that useful, they should be able to act as meat shields. Chen Ge ignored the dead body projection that hung before the screen and pulled back the black cloth. The door is here. When he grabbed the doorknob, a noise came from the loudspeaker. The girl's laughter became shrill, and the whole scenario seemed to be changing. Is there a second stage? Chen Ge pressed on the doorknob. He was just about to pull the door open when 5 pale fingers suddenly reached out from the gap to grab his hand. A cold feeling came from the back of his hand. Before the owner of the hand could react, Chen Ge grabbed the person's fingers. It should be a girl's hand. The fingers are slender. Before he could see anything else, the 5 fingers escaped from his grasp. The girl behind the door seemed to be spooked. The door was fully opened. Outside the theater was a small path that could only fit 2 people side by side. The 2 sides of the path were blocked by wooden boards, and human limbs were pinned to them. Blood splattered everywhere. Not good. The police officer knew something. When he saw Chen Ge open the door, he immediately yelled, "Once the door to the next scenario is opened, all the ghosts in this scenario will riot. Quick, leave this place. The ghosts are coming." Quote. The seats shook even more violently. The dead body projection before the screen shook. As the crying and laughter grew louder, a girl hugging a rag doll poked her head out from the corner, and the walls around them started to leak blood. Ha! Something seemed to snap. The actor who had been hiding behind the seat slowly stood up. He was wearing the same outfit as the dead teacher in the video, and his face was drained of color.
"My good children, you've all returned." As he said that, he charged at the few visitors like he had lost his mind.
"Quick, let's go." Chen Ge was the first to leave the room. He had just stepped out of the theater when a bleeding cleaver slashed at his neck like it was planning to decapitate him.
With his superhuman senses, Chen Ge bent down to evade it.
Murder. With a frown, he took a closer look at Chen Ge and realized that the cleaver was also a projection. It's quite realistic. Anyone would be spooked by a sudden slash, and even Chen Ge instinctively evaded. Ah! Chen Ge reacted calmly, but the visitors behind him were different. The police officer followed Chen Ge out. When he saw the cleaver slash at him, he was so scared that he almost tripped. The police officer doesn't know there's a cleaver here. Didn't anyone tell him about this? With 40 scenarios combined, even the haunted house's own employees had no idea what they would run into next. Quick, quick, my watch is warning me that there's a madman and murderer approaching. Before the police officer could recover from the shock, he saw the red light on his watch again. This was the police officer's power. Even though he could not sense ghosts and monsters, he could sense madmen and murderers. At the end of the narrow corridor came the sound of whistles and blades scraping against the wall. Something was approaching. There were still visitors who had not escaped from theater. Thinking back to what had happened earlier, Chen Ge volunteered to stay behind. The police officer led the way and hurried forward with the visitors. Chen Ge waited for the last visitor to escape before grabbing the door handle and slamming it shut. Just as he was about to leave, something strange happened.
A scream came from theater, and it sounded like it came from the teacher.
Why would the haunted house worker suddenly scream? Chen Ge was a haunted house operator himself. He had heard many screams, so he was certain that the haunted house worker was not acting. He had really run into something scary, and that scream was definitely not an act. This is getting more and more interesting. The haunted house worker is so scared inside his own haunted house. The door that led to the outside was pounded on, and the scream grew louder. Chen Ge wanted to open the door to take a look, but he realized that the door could not be opened anymore. The combination of virtual projection and manual work is a good idea, but sometimes there might be some mistakes in the coordination.
Before the scream stopped, the whistle from the other end of the corridor was getting closer.
The lights went out, and Chen Ge used his yin-yang vision to take a good look. There was a man in a chef's outfit standing at the other end of the corridor. He was fat, and the white outfit was stained with blood. There was half a human head stuffed inside the pocket of his stomach. A cannibal chef. The haunted house worker's shoes were specially made, and they made very little sound when he walked. Now that the lights in the corridor were off, he was holding the ridiculously large cleaver and closing in on Chen Ge. If Chen Ge was not mistaken, in a few seconds, when the chef got close, the lights would come back on, and that would scare him.
That's a good idea, but unfortunately, my eyesight is better.
The chef flew in the dark, and Chen Ge started to run. No wonder the corridor is so clean. I'm afraid he might trip during the chase. After all, there are no lights. Chen Ge glanced at the wooden boards on the wall. Should I remove one and place it in the middle of the corridor? The chef definitely won't expect there to be a wooden board in the middle of the corridor. After giving it some thought, Chen Ge gave up on that idea. He was afraid that he might accidentally trip the man.
10 seconds later, the lights came back on, and the chef waved the cleaver with a maniacal laugh. However, halfway through his laughter, he realized that there was no one before him. Chen Ge had already run to the other end of the corridor. Breathing heavily, he laughed alone in the corridor for a long time. Suddenly, he realized that there was no one before him. When the chef looked forward, he realized that Chen Ge was also looking at him. Left with no choice, he continued to laugh madly to prevent his persona from collapsing.
That's the hell butcher. He would make soup out of the people he caught. I've seen a movie like this before. The youngest boy shouted as he ran. He's almost here. A girl turned around and saw the chef. She screamed in fear. Perhaps it was because of the awkwardness, the chef waved his kitchen knife and chased after the tourists. This way. Just as the chef was about to catch up to them, the police found a door at the critical moment.
Wait, don't go in yet. The man with glasses wanted to warn them, but it was already too late. The police pushed the door open, and the other tourists rushed in without thinking too much.
Chen Ge was the last to enter the room. The chef was already very close, so he closed the door behind him.
Bang! Wood splinters were flying above his head. A large hole had been cut open by the kitchen knife. The wooden door was shaking. Someone was crazily hitting the door.
This door won't stop them for long. We need to find a way out of this room as soon as possible. The police officer yelled. I entered this scenario the last time I was here. It wasn't that difficult. We just need to find the mannequins of the victims before the clock on the wall reaches midnight. By the way, the scenario behind the mannequins is useful as well. We need to take the bodies away with us. Quote. I have a question. Chen Ge raised his hand. Since you've visited this room before, you should know what happened inside this room. How many body parts do we need to find to be considered successful? Body parts. The police officer was startled. Aren't bodies counted by body parts? Look at the fruit platter on the table. Chen Ge pointed at the exquisite fruit platter on the coffee table. There were 3 plastic apples, a bunch of plastic grapes, and 5 severed fingers on it. Fingers should be part of a human body, right? But I didn't see this the last time I was here. The police officer looked at the other visitors with shock. After a brief eye contact, he rushed into the bedroom. The last time we were here, we found the dead bodies under the bed. Without waiting for the others to follow, the police officer entered the bedroom and pulled back the bedsheet. He looked at the empty bed, and he was dumbfounded. That's impossible. What's impossible about it? The difficulty has increased from medium to hell, so it's normal that we need to find more things. The man with the glasses was calm. I'm a detective. When I entered this scenario, I found the first clue. He looked at his watch. The head should be on the top of the fridge. 2 of the 3 girls immediately moved away from the fridge. Only the woman with the long hair did not mind and personally went to open the fridge door. Now I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? The woman's face was pale.
What's the good news? Other than the head, there are the mannequin's arm and 5 fingers inside the fridge.
Then, what's the bad news? This mannequin's body is more dismembered than I expected. The woman was already feeling nauseous. Ever since the futuristic theme park opened, no one had entered a hellish scenario, they were the first. They knew the general process, but with the central computer's control, the difficulty of the basic mission had been raised to a ridiculous level. Move faster, we still have 4 minutes. Chen Ge looked at the clock on the living room wall. It was 11:56 p.m. The knocking keeps coming. The fat chef is at the door. Other than that, listen carefully. The crying that followed us earlier has not disappeared, but it's temporarily covered up by the knocking. Holding his breath, Chen Ge added after a while, I should add that the girl's laughter has not disappeared. In other words, if we don't solve the puzzle soon, we might face a cruel chef and 2 ghosts. So, this is the hellish difficulty. The police officer was nervous. 3 ghosts at the start, and we're only at the 2nd stage.
3 is a conservative estimate. Don't forget, there might be ghosts in this new scenario as well.
As time moves on, the number of ghosts following behind us will increase. Even though most of them are actors or projections, there might be a small group of them that we can't really tell what they are. After all, this haunted house is filled with many old objects. Chen Ge was still live streaming. His casual words had started to set the stage. When his employees came out, he could say that this was a problem with the futuristic theme park. Walking to the fridge to remove the mannequin's head, Chen Ge noticed that the mannequin's mouth was bulging, and there was something stuffed inside.
He reached his hand into the mannequin's mouth and soon found a ball of paper. "What are you doing?" The woman with the long hair saw what Chen Ge was doing, and she did not want to stay with Chen Ge anymore. Too lazy to explain, Chen Ge took out the ball of paper and glanced at the message written on it. "I realized that I've been trapped in a recurring nightmare. Whenever midnight arrives, I'll be killed in various ways, and whenever I'm about to die, I'll wake up from the dream and realize that it was just a dream. The real despair is that every time I wake up, it's always at 11:56 p.m.